Okay. All right then. We're gonna give this a go. We've got some technical difficulties this morning, but we'll get this rolling now. Purpose of the meeting is for our 2022 budget discussion. I call the meeting to order and remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. The business of the day is going to include the final budget overview, and then we hope to get a draft budget presented by the end of the day. So anyway, so okay, we're going to open things up, and I'll turn it over to David. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Our mayor, our councilors, and HPM citizens. Looking forward to getting closer to the finish line here today, and to our outward-facing meeting on Tuesday for your more valued direct feedback. Since we last met on the 8th, I've composed a summary. You see on the screen. It's broken out by revenue, by operation expenses, and then by capital, and then by budget requirements. We've got through all operating budgets now. We have a couple other capital pieces to finish up, and these are the larger capital loads, if you will, as we roll out the budget. So it's important that we focus on these and get your feedback as to what the priorities are as we drill down finally to the 2022 proposed tax rate. So the top screen here, you'll see the revenue breakout. You'll see that it's nearly doubled, and we're supporting that so far through grants, through our reserves, through other, which is donations and such. And then the last piece that we'd like to avoid at all costs would then be the tax rates. So we're going to exhaust all means before we get to that last category, again, the tax. So, and I'll tell you how we've gotten there, but I'll give a minute or a pause for people to see what revenue is driving which department and how it rolls up as priorities. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to skip down to operations and pause so you can get a sense of that. There, we can see that. Okay. Operations is here. You'll see that their departments have taken this, as they say, sharpen their pencil. If you look year over year, there is an uptick, primarily due to inflationary pressures, which does mirror the plus 5.2% last month's Bank of Canada inflation index. So that isn't the driver of the increase this year, or what we need to decide today is the capital, which is going to be where I'm scrolling now. By budget, you'll see what we need to address today as to what the priorities are of HDM in 2022. Councilor Palmer, go ahead.
Yeah, once the roads right away.
Okay, duly noted, and absolutely it's the biggest driver of our budget. Over 50% of the capital and operations, if you roll it up, is roads. And if you also listen to the feedback, just as a reminder from our HDM community, roads was by far the point of focus from their direct feedback. And that's how we're opening up this meeting. After I get through the summary slide, we'll then get into the roads proposed capital. And we also will be addressing today water, sewer, and then parks and rec, which if you look, what's driving that plus 100% proposed increase. Now, this isn't a proposal. This is where we're going to really get serious about it and figure out where the priorities are absolutely this year. I'm going to drive down to the last summary, which then is the budget requirements by department. So it's not as scary as it looks when we look at the capital, when we look at the revenue, and then we offset that by the operations and capital. This is the difference, 21 versus 22. Right now it's at a 9% increase. I'm confident after this morning's session, we can get that down to a palatable number. But this is the focus of the exercise today. So if there are any questions, I'm going to jump into roads right now, and we'll see what we can do to drive down the roads priorities, and we'll take it from there. And we'll revisit the slide as we go. Department of
Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
Really big one.
So here we go. Peter, our department head, is here. So I'll get into okay.
The microphone might need to be closer to
Closer,
you.
okay. You got it. So I'm going to scroll down now to capital. If you want, we can revisit operations. As I said, that's the biggest piece of our budget, so we need to get focused on everything here. As I scroll down to our capital, sorry for the blur here. Almost there. Okay, we're here. So the first items, there are 4 items here, excuse me, 5 items that have been earmarked to be critical in the eyes of our department head Peter. To summarize, and I'll turn over to Peter, it's the North Shore Road, it's a burn dam bridge, it's the Fish Hatchery Road, it's Smith Drive, and lastly, it's a sign inventory project. Peter, if you can provide details as to why you think these are critical as we consider roads capital. Sure.
I can interrupt here. Over the bus with vision problems is one of the things.
Sure.
When you go on your account, in the paging the number, I can read this.
Oh, you bet.
with my
Okay.
glasses, but I can't see the board.
Understood. We're on page 11 of 15. Page 11 of 15.
Thank you. Makes it a lot easier to read.
No, you bet. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. So I'll leave it over to Peter here. We're on North Shore Road. The budget allocation for this is $67,482.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. For the North Shore, that is the culvert that needs to be replaced. It's failed, and it's between as well as the Bottle Lake, more or less the overflow culvert that keeps the lake level constant. We've had numerous issues over the past couple of years with it. The bottom is completely rusted out of it, and it's very hard to keep open. So that's the long and short of it. I did have a local contractor come up with that number, and I do have that on hand here as well. But yes, that would be one of the more of the top priorities. Another one here is the burnt dam bridge. We've been in discussions with Bob, myself, and some staff have been in discussions with the county, and that is concerning the burnt dam bridge, to keep the bridge open. DM Wills have done a study, a report back to the county, and they're estimating $280,000 in repairs to keep the bridge open and upgrade it for recreational vehicles. The county has approved $140,000 in their budget. So that's an item that is a good discussion.
So Peter, if I can just elaborate on that.
Sure.
Standard public works.
Can I speak up with the, I don't think there we go.
Sorry about that.
Rather
with the microphone. Hello, can you hear me? You can hear me now. There we are. Can we turn up the volume just a little bit? Please. Hello, there you go. Can you hear me now, Larry?
You're muted, sir.
That's great, Bob.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Just to elaborate, the manager of public works and I did meet with the county of Peterborough regarding Burnham Bridge. It is the county's intention to divest itself of Burnham Bridge. The county has allocated $140,000 in their budget for upgrades to the bridge prior to divesting. $140,000 represents half of the cost. So the $140,000 that's reflected in our budget is the other half of the project to bring the bridge up to a standard before it is the ownership is turned over. Snowmobile Club is involved in this discussion. Perhaps will assist in this expense. That has not been confirmed. We expect to hear from the Snowmobile Club at a future council meeting. But that number of 140,000 represents half of the allocated cost to upgrade the bridge prior to transfer of ownership.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, thank you, Bob, for helping clarify that.
To that. They're kind of things that be pretty close here.
The next item on the list here that we brought to the attention here was the Fish Hatchery Road. In the last budget meeting, it was mentioned that we should up to 50,000 to 100,000. So noted as we've done. The Smith Drive sidewalks on the north side of Smith Drive and the boulevards, topsoil, sod, and so forth from the tender that was put out last year. That is the remaining amount that we require to finish the Smith Drive with the sidewalks.
Just a question, sorry. So Fish Hatchery Road, you have the 50,000 up there on my sheet, it says carry forward.
So it's a good question. Let me clarify that. Through your Mayor Martin, Councillor Webb, the reason for that is there was $50,000 spent. It was earmarked for 100. So we spent 50 and we're carrying over the other 50. That makes sense.
No.
Peter? No.
No, through you, Mayor Martin. No, there was no money spent. It was budgeted, but no money spent. That 50,000, there was no money spent in 2021.
Through you, Mayor Mark.
We'll shut that.
That's what it is. Thank you. So just to clarify, through you, Mayor Mark, for the treasurer, my understanding of the direction from council, there was 50,000 currently in the account. At an earlier meeting, the direction was to add an additional 50,000 into that account.
Through your Mayor Martin, thank you for the correction. I'll certainly roll that up correctly.
Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question on that. We got $100,000 contingency into our road that we don't even know that the government's gonna turn it over to us, or what's it gonna cost to buy it. Because the last time the MPP spoke to us, it had to be put up for bids. Any surplus property. So I don't think we need, I know we're not gonna get an answer this year, and if we do, you can do it in another year, but as far as upping the ante on that road, we don't own it. So I would recommend that we withdraw those funds until we can get some information back from the Ontario government.
Yeah, so that is something that we can put on hold for now. If we have to find it somewhere, I'm sure we can. If something happens next month, I'm sure we'll be able to find some money to help with it, but I don't know what you think, Peter. I know it was council's idea, but we do have the 50 still in there to hold. That would get us started, and possibly we could deal with it the next budget, or if we have to find some money somewhere, we might be able to look into a road reserve somewhere. But for now, we have a lot of things in here that we're looking for that are, it might not hurt to keep that one on hold for now, just to see what it looks like later. Anybody else got any?
Yeah, I don't mind that, I guess, but moving forward, I wouldn't like to see it put off any more than this year. As you said, we do have other monies, I guess we can allocate if something happens quickly, which hopefully it does. But we do have, as Councilor Pomeroy says, there is some money there. And until we get some direction on where we're moving on.
Yeah,
I agree.
we can sure use it somewhere else at
Yeah.
this time.
Yep, I agree. But I would like us to remember not to put it off much more than this year going forward, because it is something that we'll need to do in the future.
Through you, Mayor Martin, if I could just ask for clarification, are we withdrawing the $100,000 or the $50,000?
Just
The additional $50,000? Is that okay?
Can we take it all? No, okay, no, I'm just asking the
Yeah, the
question
new money.
because it would be, new money out of probably a new grant if we decided, in the years, next year, you might be able to get a larger grant. Then the interior government might be able to finalize this by next year. But as it is, we're just sitting here for money in a project that we can't go ahead with.
Yeah, so we're hoping still within the next month, we'll hear something on this. So it's better to keep some money in there that we have some money to work with if we do end up taking it over this year. So it's in there, it's not taxation or anything, it's a carryover. So let's just leave it at that. And as far as new money, you're right, we can't, it's disconnected. I don't think it's very stable. It doesn't matter. I'm on the other one.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, I was just trying something there, so. Okay, yeah, so, as far as new money, we have other projects that we need some new money into, and that's George Street. That's gonna be a huge thing, and if we don't get with it, we're gonna be left behind, so, okay.
I think pretty much there, and I think that's one of our top priorities this year, to get George Street done, so whatever money we can take from other projects. There's some in here that are just, there's wants and needs, but some of them are just wants. We don't need them.
All right then, so David, you want to carry on, or Peter, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The last one I'd like to highlight here is our sign inventory project. And the long and short of that is with our MMS, the minimum maintenance standards. It's come out in the regulation that we require, certain reflectometry and sizes and heights, and there's quite an extensive research that was done last year, and this was the outcome of the price to bring the signs throughout the Havelock-Belmont-Methuen Township up to the MMS was 17,000. So.
Okay. So, yeah, things are getting funny here. So anyway, okay. All right then. Larry, did you have a question?
Just give me a second here, Mr. Mayor. I'm having a little difficulty hearing some of the staff and council, but I'd like to just step back, if I could, to the Burnt Dam Bridge. I was trying to look back through notes and memory, but I don't recall council agreeing in principle to take over the Burnt Dam Bridge, and I'm questioning the fact that we're putting $140,000 into something we don't own yet.
So go ahead.
If the county want to hand it off to us, at least they should have it in the proper state to do so.
Through you, Mayor Martin, the $140,000 is a request from the county. So the county is putting forward half of the cost. The request is that the township put forward the other half or split it with the snowmobile club in some fashion. So this 140,000 is there in the event that council chooses to go down that path.
Thank you, Bob. From what I could hear, it sounded like we were just going ahead and budgeting $140,000. Again, I don't recall council agreeing in any principal way to support costs of the bridge. It's one thing to hand it off to us, but it should be handed off as a usable bridge. It's their bridge.
And
Pay for it.
Shut off. Somebody needs to-
I don't know if that was cut your off part. Maybe it's only letting through the
I'll let
comment.
you speak.
And that, through you,
So-
Mr. Mayor. And if I heard things correctly, we are not putting another $50,000 into Fish Hatchery Road for that simple reason, we don't own it yet. So we're
So through
talking
you, Mayor
about, $140,000 now for something we don't own.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I will turn this over to Deputy Mayor Giroux in a moment. The $140,000 has not been decided, so that is the purpose of today's discussion, is to review this item as an item to either put in the budget or leave it out. We have not given an answer to the county as of yet. We do not have a formal response to the county. And I'll let Deputy Mayor Giroux elaborate on that.
through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Bob. The only comment I have to council on this, you're right, Councilor Ellis, it is a county bridge. Therefore, in the end, county council will make a decision. Whether they will fix the bridge at $280,000 or simply walk away from it and shut the bridge down. So it will be, defunct, no good, no one will be able to cross there. We've spoken many times of the private landowners in there, the snowmobile club, it is crown land, Hydro use it. We went through this gamut many times before. We say we can get all the partners together, but we never have it. Maybe it wouldn't do any good. Always give us an option. Bring it up to standards for a certain number of tones. And perhaps the snowmobile club will have a big input in this $140,000 that we have on the books today. So we can either leave it on or take it off. If we take it off, we take it off with the understanding that that bridge may be closed. If we leave it in there and don't spend it, that's a great thing. But that's all I have to offer today, but we will not have the final decision as a council of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen what happens to that bridge. That'll be a county decision because they've already stated to Bob and Peter the day that we had the meeting back there, they took full responsibility. It is their bridge, even though they say it's on crown land. So that's all I have to offer today as far as the $140,000 goes and what or would not happen to the bridge. So that's all I can offer. Perhaps the mayor can offer up something else.
No, Deputy Mayor Giroux summarized it well, and that's where we're at. It's this is gonna happen this year, one way or the other. Whether they give up the bridge and as it is, or they fix it up, which was a full replacement, or was it a full replacement, Peter, or?
Through you, Mayor Martin, it was an upgrade, so it needed to be, or the DM will stated it needed to have $280,000 to upgrade the bridge to allow for off-road snowmobiles, four-wheelers, etc. And to reply to Councilor Ellis, when the bridge gets, the county will be doing all the work. They'll be sending all the tenders. It'll just be a cost from our side. So we won't be doing any of the work to the bridge. If council chooses, it'll just be, it'll be complete, ready for operation.
So it's gonna happen. We can still send a letter to county council that we would like them to pay for the whole thing. But this is a way of being prepared, because this is probably what's gonna end up happening in the end, so. Go ahead, Councilor Pomeroy.
Yeah, my only other question is, like, Hydro uses that bridge. They're about the only heavy ones that go across there. As far as reaching it, that land, we could do that off another road, but, has county council ever contacted Ontario Hydro? And if so, can you give me kind of an explanation?
Yeah, so they've looked up all the people that are using it, and there wasn't any help out there. The only ones that have came forward is the Snowmobile Club. I even went to the Crow Valley, and they don't need it either. They do the dam adjustments from the side before the bridge. So anyways, it's one of those things that they have looked up all the partners or all the people that are using it other than us. And it's still going to be an ongoing process, but it's just, this would be to keep us prepared. The other way of doing it is to make sure that we have some money somewhere, like not including it in the budget, but I think it is going to be a budget item eventually, whether it's 140 or less. I don't know what we can do, but we're going to do our best to get the county to cover as much as they can. But they are saying this is a surplus bridge for them. It means nothing to them. It doesn't even touch their road network. And there's a few of these in the county that they're going to be offloading. This is just one, but okay. Deputy Mayor Grow.
To clarify, hydro, the information that I have been able to obtain thus far, as far as the hydro using that, they don't use it either. That was a statement that was made some years ago in council that they do use it, but the weight restrictions right now will only allow a broom roll. So there isn't any hydro equipment that's over, I think it's, Peter, what's the tonnage on that now?
5 tons.
So, they don't have anything less than 5 tons, but they'd be able to take over it anyway. So they're not really anything.
So this is one of those things that I think with it in there, we can decide if we're going to keep it in there. Maybe there's how we pay for it is going to come later. Like we do have some grants and things like that, and this is a one-time thing. So it might fit into that, but that's for discussion later. I think the 50,000 we've taken out from Fish Hatchery Road, or I would suggest that it sounded like, the new 50, leave the carryover in there, but this 140, we'll have to figure out a way of, if it's going to stay in there for now, how we do it. That's the thing, to be prepared. So, Councilor Pomeroy?
I suppose there's any grant structure for the 140,000. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. Like it's not gonna happen this year that they're gonna. Peter, I'll go to you.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, when staff met with the county, it was this June that it was going to be a decision made by the county. So it was a date in June 2022.
Tell them to do their half.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I think where we're getting at is here, we really haven't had a discussion at our council, right? And so it's weird to put money in our budget we just did it to Fish Hatchery Road. And now, for some reason, because it's a county issue, we're just gonna go ahead and put money in.
This
I
is
think it's
happening, though. We know it's happening. The Fish Hatchery Road is.
Well, I don't know if the people on Fish Hatchery Road want to, theirs might not be happening. They've been told for a lot of years that that's happening too, so I would like to assume that all this is happening.
Yep, so,
Well, I'm just saying,
yeah, you're right.
to me, if, like you said, we have other money, if we need it, we can get it from other places, but to go to the taxpayer right now for something that's in the air, and really, we haven't had a discussion with them, like, obviously, there's a few groups that will be for the bridge, but maybe other people don't want. Like, the thing that concerns me is, once we take it over, obviously, we assume liability for it, right? So, what if a snowmobile or somebody parks one in the river? Like, You know, there's gonna have to be signs and whatnot put around it. This is gonna be an ongoing expense going forward for this municipality. And I think we need to have a discussion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, this might be more palatable for those members of the council that doesn't want to leave that, do not want to leave that in there. We have only have till June, and I guess if between now and June, if we could arrange a meeting with the snowmobile club to finalize where they stand on this, see how much money they have. In June, there's going to be a decision made, so if council, by the sound of it, between these three councilors, they don't want to leave this in here, then if it goes out, we'll keep the bridge. There'll have to be a decision made, and the money will have to come from somewhere. Okay, thank you.
Bob, and then-
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to elaborate further. County Council gave county staff a deadline of dealing with this issue, which is June of 2022. So county staff did approach HPM staff, they approached Snowmobile Club, and that's where the number comes from. Councilor Webb is quite correct. There are further discussions to be had yet at council. This is an introductory discussion. This puts the number on the table. This is the request that came to us through the county. There are further discussions to have. We have reached out to the Snowmobile Club and invited them to come to a future council meeting, which they will. They are in the process of confirming whether or not they can contribute to this and how much, if anything. So that's a work in progress. The discussion regarding liability and ownership of the bridge is another discussion. Potentially mutual ownership with Snowmobile Club is a possibility. Those are legal discussions that will have to be ironed out through some sort of an agreement. That's a different discussion again. So there's quite a bit of detail yet to come on this particular file. But this number is the introductory number that was requested of the county. And it may not be entirely spent. It's there as the request that came from the county.
Okay, I think Ray has something to say here as far as the fire department, but I do have to say the difference between this and the Fish Hatchery Road is this one is happening for sure in June. Something is going to be happening. So we're going to have to be prepared. So how we do that, I think that's for the discussion later as far as, you know, putting a pot of money. As far as the $50,000, that would be easier to find later if we need it. You know, and hopefully we do need it. Ray, go ahead with the fire department's view on this bridge.
We've had a number of fires across on the other side that we've accessed with the trucks and our forestry stuff, not the tankers or anything, but we have gone across there a number of times for fires. Just for your information.
I think the suggestion here is just from Dave and I, is, you know, if we leave it in there, it might still fall out. We're still just at the overview stage here. Moving forward, maybe we can find something, some way, like you say, grant, Harry, that would be great if we had time. To me, this is a good trillium grant or something like that if we're going to go on this route or one of those routes. But right now, we're looking at this is happening in June, and we need to have a number somewhere that we don't have to scramble later. So, David has something in there, Barry.
Through you, Mayor Martin, duly noted. This exercise and the flexibility in the way the budget is constructed, we can pull the levers on whether it's reserves, grants, others, and lastly, tax. So we can get through the first three before we have to consider the last least desirable way to correct this. I suggest we go through the first three iterations, see where we're at, and then we can regress.
Yeah. Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've heard stated here a couple of times that something's happening in June. Could somebody explain what's happening in June?
The county will be dealing with this bridge in June. It will be declared surplus. We've known that for several years. This is just a way of them trying to get it up to a standard that we can still keep using it because it is valuable to HDM. We've heard it from our economic development people in our ATV clubs and snowmobile clubs that, you know, this is used, plus we have properties on the other side, like Ray said. So, so it's going to be dealt with, and there's several, I think there's 3 in the county that are going to be dealt with this summer. This was just a way of us being prepared to try and keep it, because if we let it go, you know, there won't be anything from the county, and we will have the whole thing or nothing. We'll have no bridge. So it's just one of those things. It's been coming for probably about, it was the last term of council that we were dealing with this. Ron and I dealt with it at the county. And now it's coming to a head here this summer. So.
Well, I'm in agreement with Councillor Webb. I think this item requires more discussion, looking for possible ways to pay the $140,000 versus hit the taxpayer for it. It gives us some time rather than put this into this budget. I think we have other things that we need to be more focused on.
So we will be, this is just the overview. So when we get into the other side of the discussions, that's where it'll be, whether it's taxpayers' money or I think all the options that David had said, that's where we'll be talking about, you know, how we could possibly do it without having it in the budget for the taxpayers. So I think that'll happen in the discussion later on some of these issues when we try and, you know, finalize to get to the draft stage. Right now, it's just an overview.
Okay, I didn't hear Dave very well there, so that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Ray.
And I just thought of, with the Crown land over there, it will change our agreement with the M&R. And then it'll change the costs of responding, because right now we're looking after part of their land over there. So it'll change all the agreement and monies there as well.
Okay. Okay, Barry.
Yeah, and you would have to come in off Anderson Road on that road allowance there to access that property.
Yeah, but most of the fires are on this end for some reason.
Yeah, well,
But anyway,
make the blueberries grow.
Okay. All right, then, we'll move on to, are you okay? Art?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right, then we'll move on, then just leave it in there for now, I think, and for discussion later, we can still pull it if it needs to be. Go ahead, David.
So we're now on to the last item that appears highlighted here. It is the sign, 17,000 earmarked in the budget. Same page.
yes, through you, Mayor Martin, the sign, that is the minimum maintenance standard of the reflectometry of the signs that need upgrading. And that was advantage, data that came back, the company that went around the township and marked all the signs to bring all the signs up to the required minimum maintenance standard. So that's the price that would bring all of our signs in the whole township up to the minimum maintenance standard. So.
Okay. Go ahead, David.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I prefer to leave it in there. This is a liability issue.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, all right then, what else is left in the road?
So just to reiterate, as we go forward, we got consensus on the North Shore Road. True. We're all in agreement that that's a priority. Okay. That's the culvert. And the other one, I thought we don't need to discuss the bridge anymore. Just Hatchery's noted, Smith Drive. Are we alignment on Smith Drive from 40K? Yes. Okay. Good. That's gonna cut tonight.
Okay, so once again, even with the 67,000, this is where normally at the end, we look at the OMPF funds and things like that to see what we can do to help offset in the budget, so. So at the end, when we're looking at all of these projects, we'll see the total that we have left in OMPF and see if we, even when it gets to capital items that, on the wish list, is there anything we can do to help make that happen? So, okay.
Very good. Through you, Mayor Martin, I'd like to now address the total capital spend, which you'll see is going to be less now after this discussion. But we'd like to do a top-down through capital quickly to get feedback as to how we might get this reduced. I'll turn it over to Peter.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The rest of the remaining items, it would be great for council discussion to see what they would like to leave in this capital list that we brought forward. We can go right from the third line and go down. The third line, it was the highest priority on our roads, our current most up-to-date roads need study for replacement or reconstruction. Is our first item there for discussion. That number has came right out of the roads need study.
Yeah, and I think, that's what we work by and that's what we have to try and figure out how we can do it, so.
Yep, I'll keep moving on down the list. The next items there is the Round Lake Road and the Old Nord Road. Last year, we used the new ultra thin asphalts on parts of those roads. So those two roads, the one comes in the Round Lake Road to finish from the dance hall to the 6th line. Comes in at 230,000, and to finish the Old Nord Road from the 10th over to Highway 30 to the concession street is at 215,000. It would be nice to have those both completed, just so the road that one whole section of road has the same or close approximate life expectancy for asset management. I'll come down into the sander and the V plow. I'll talk about those together. I know the ones that we have now, and with the pre-approval for the new 3/4 ton trucks, the ones that we have now were currently bought, I believe, in 2013. So we have one new set that was purchased last year, and then the originals are 10 years old. So it came to thinking with the new vehicles to upgrade the older equipment, so we're not having to change and swap harnesses and all the electrical from the sanders and the plow harnesses. The hand tools, that number can be adjusted. We like to do some upgrading there for the air compressor we have done, but our chainsaws and the hand tools in the shop, our pole saws, that kind of thing, and with the new property on Concession Street, we're making a lot of trips back and forth. There's staff up there, and then there's staff at the other locations, so we're running quite frequently back and forth to get a floor jack per se, or for like wrenches and sockets and stuff. We're just constantly traveling back and forth when they're fixing something up in the new building. So,
Okay, Barry?
Yeah, if you have the tools in one building, can you drive the truck to that building or whatever you need to work on, rather than run back and forth?
through you, Mayor Martin, in most cases, yes. Some cases it's a sidewalk machine, for an example, that, we're half an hour going one way or the other. It would just be a little easier, like it's pretty much bare bones there, so even from, hand soap to, that kind of thing, right? Like it was pretty much empty, so it would just help set that up a little bit.
And air compressor, is there an air compressor in that whole building?
Yes, it is currently not up and operating as of yet, but there is an air compressor there, yes. Yeah. Yeah, and we replaced the air compressor. We did replace that. I should have marked that off the list, but we did get a new air compressor at the 6th line last year. Yeah.
Yeah, we rather than stock a couple of garages, if goes well, you know, maybe the facilities will move from here up there, and we have one, so, I don't wanna see a whole Wabash of, duplication neither, because
No, through you, Mayor Martin, that number can be cut down, but we would still like something there to upgrade our chainsaws. They're quite the age now, and they could be, you know, and they're not that cheap anymore either, but, yeah, it just is, a few small upgrades would be nice there. That number can be cut back, but, and I can come back with a list of, tools, that we actually, and prices, to confirm that and get to a solid number. Down the list, we go, so the coverall building as a carry forward, is 25,000. We're just gonna carry that forward from the previous budget. And moving down, the 2 3/4 ton regular cab trucks was pre-approved. I don't have I have the date with me, but it was approved last summer. And I think we're still considering the best option there. David's looking into that, which way we go. And then the last 3 topics is a rubber tired excavator, snow blower, and a front end loader. They're all up for discussion. I do have prices on all of them. That's throughout the year, being discussed with different members of the council. So this is why I brought the numbers forward. So
lots of needs. And I know we have to have the trucks, the regular cabs, rubber tire excavator. We can do with that. We do have one snow blower on the backhoe. We have a snow blower on the sander, on the street plow, and the front end loader. Another 200,000, so you're looking at what, $750,000 here?
If you did it all,
Yeah, and
I think.
there's the only thing we do, if we rent the front end loader for 3 months or 4 months, we want to go back, we're done with it. We don't pay any upkeep on it. Rubber tired excavator. We can get our contractor to do that. We have a man that can operate. Snow blower for the backhoe. We have a snow blower on the street plow that can be used, that has been used, and it works. We proved that last year. We spent some money and did, fixed it up a bit. The front, like, to me, those last 3 items could be taken off the list. Like that's most of the wants. Like in the future, you know, we're, like I say, we're trying to get George Street done. We're trying to keep the taxes down for the people in HPM. And we really need it. We can get it done. But we contract out most of our construction work. I can't see the point of spending that kind of money on equipment that we already have that can do the job.
Okay, so these things are in there right now, and like I say, it's an overview, and we can pull them now, but I do think we need to get with the times, and, you know, there is something, you know, some things there that are worth discussion when you're talking about rentals. When we're spending $30,000 a year to rent a loader, that's fine, but at the end of 10 years, we could have bought one and had some residual left over where it's just going out the window right now. When you're looking at what we pay for rubber tired excavator rentals, you know, it's something worth looking at to get with the times. We're so outdated here on equipment. We got rid of a backhoe a few years ago, so we're running with one backhoe, which is crazy for a township the size of ours. So I would rather see a rubber tired excavator than another backhoe personally, but that's just my thoughts. I don't know how it falls out. But we need something else eventually, whether it's to do it over a couple of years and start putting money away for one, or how we do it. But you know, the rental thing is not the way to go really, but not for a municipality. But anyways, that's where we're at now. Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I direct this to Pete. Pete, the day that you and I sat and went over the roads budget, one of those pieces of equipment we're just speaking to now, I believe it might have been the rubber tire excavator. I'm not sure, but you went over a bunch of numbers, the rental fees versus purchasing, and also you talked about the different things that this piece of equipment would do where you normally rent something. Maybe not explaining it that well, but if you recall the conversation, could you comment on that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. That was the rubber tired excavator is the piece of equipment that I was speaking to with Councillor Ellis, and I took one contractor over the past 5 years for roadside mowing and brushing, and that invoice for 5 years was $236,000. And that doesn't include all of the road reconstruction, the water repairs. So there's quite a bit more, and I can get those numbers. I haven't had time yet, but I can come back with those numbers over the past 5 years for the road construction as well. But again, with the brusher, the rubber tire excavator would be used throughout the winter as well, because I believe it's going to come sooner than later that the environment wants us to do the brushing in the winter instead of the summer for the wildlife. So it would be something that could be used more year round and more versatile for us from water repairs to ditching to culverts to brushing to roadside mowing. Does that sum it up, Councillor Ellis?
Yes, that was the discussion, and maybe if you could put together some numbers to support what you just spoke to, that would be some help to council to making the decision.
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, I will work on getting some numbers for the construction side of that rubber tired excavator.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Yeah, I just like to say, I guess there's obviously some pieces of equipment that we're gonna need to purchase that we're just gonna need to have, but moving forward, I'd like to council to have more of a discussion in terms of, for me, at least the trucks, the small trucks, pickup trucks we're looking at, and maybe looking at a leasing option on some of these. Because especially the last couple we've gone out, or so even some of the bigger equipment we put back on the Scout deals, we're not getting anything back for it. So it's nice to think that, you know what I mean? We're gonna get something back after 10 years on this stuff, but what we've seen lately is we're really not getting anything. And to me, at least looking at a leasing option for some of these fleets, I think would be something to look at. What do you think, Dave?
You remember, Martin? Yes, 100%. We'll have clarity finally, whatever Hero County does with enterprise, that then gives us a fleet lease. And not only is it fleet leasing, it's also the ability to have them manage all the processes, buying, maintenance, and selling. Typically, they'll sell it to the US after 12 to 18 months, and you're break even. It doesn't cost anything because of the US FX benefit of doing that. So I think it's something that we really are keen on. And as soon as the county makes a decision, that then allows us to get on the program. For what it's worth, if we look at these two trucks and assume lease payments, that I'd like to run a quick scenario on what, if we got the tire excavator and the two trucks, and I can make a quick assumption of lease payments, what we'll do for our budget. If you just give me 10 seconds, I'll
Maybe longer than that.
no.
So yeah, these are the things that we're gonna have to get into, and even with things like when we talk about upgrading our prices for rentals, there's a lot of things going on at the county right now as far as sharing equipment. And this is one of those things where other municipalities are kind of renting it to the county or with an operator. So there is ways of making some of the money back on that side of it too, where right now, we don't have any equipment. The other ones are using the brushers for the county and things like that. we don't have any equipment to offer that, and it would help pay for it in the end. So I think it's a bigger discussion as far as, you know, needs and wants, but, hey, Barry?
Yeah, if you had a municipality close by that has one of these, retired excavator, and you had to rent it and the operator, you know, we don't have any figures on what it would cost. You know, and how much downtime. Like, if we were doing construction work, I could see it. But we don't do any construction work. You talk about digging a hole for a water line, we do have a backhoe for that. The backhoe is not used much. It used basically down at the 6-line transfer station for packing bins. I don't know, so many little things here that could save the taxpayer dollars. We gotta get into it broader than just putting it up as a line item on a page.
So you remember, if we look at a capital lease, which is the back of the envelope numbers I've run with the 2 trucks and the excavator, now there's amortization schedules and interest rates that are factored into this. By doing this adjustment, we drop the budget down a lot. We're now in arm's reach, I would say. If we look at the numbers, 1.3 million versus 1.6. And then if I turn over to the budget summary, you'll see that roads is now down to 15% year over year versus 111% when we started this discussion 20 minutes ago.
Okay, sorry, just to that, like, I mean, just for reference, again, we're 15 over 2021, I guess, but do we have an actual for 2020? Because I'm thinking that 2021 might have been lower. You know what I'm saying? That's why I need that third year kind of as, with this COVID, it's hard to compare year to year, right? Only 2 years.
Through your member, and duly noted, I think with this and this impact it has to the bottom line, yes, I'll bring up the 2020 reference.
I'm not trying to create more.
No.
I'm just thinking that 138 sounds a little low for our CapEx, like per year. I don't know, maybe it isn't, but I'm thinking we might have dipped that year. We're more around that 1.5, 1.6, you know, steady for each year. So
I'll bring it up in the next 5 minutes.
And can you bring it up, David, by taking the rubber tired excavator out of it and see what the percentage comes down at, because that's, you know,
Put 6 shovels in there just to make sure we got something to dig with.
that's not even,
So bringing that down, as we skip over, we dropped it out again. We're now down to 11% for roads. If we strip that out entirely, that's certainly not the capital lease option as well. So.
Okay, so like I said, we're, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'll address this question to our manager of public works. I'm not sure that COVID affected your roads projects in any way. It's not like, I think COVID had more of an effect on the administrative side, where training was canceled, those kind of things. It didn't really affect your road projects, but I'll let you speak to that.
No, through you, Mayor Martin, no, the COVID didn't slow us down on the road construction at all. I feel we did accomplish quite a bit with the roads that we completed last year. So, no, it didn't affect us. It did slow us down with, you know, traveling and masking and getting to the job sites in some cases, but no, it didn't slow us down on the final product for the roads, no.
Okay, so we'll move on from this and then we'll come back to it. Sure, like I think most of the discussion was around the rubber excavator. I think the other ones you could pull out of there, you know, there hasn't been any discussion on them, and I think the priority for the public works was the rubber tired excavator. I think anything would be good. I remember the days when we used to have 20 items that we would stroke off, but right now I think it's pretty safe to say you can take a couple of those things off, and then we'll come back later on the discussion on the other side, you know, and then it can be pulled in if it needs to be, or if there's a way of finding a way of helping us get that. That's like I we haven't touched on OMPF or any of the grants yet to see what we're using here, and we don't even know what the bottom line is yet. So once we see that, there might be some surprises. So. Oh, but, no.
Through your Mayor Martin, this is an invaluable process. The feedback is very helpful as we drill down the bottom line on the important ones, the ones that really move the needle. So I appreciate everyone's time on this. I know it's a drawn out process, but it really helps that budget take shape. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll continue moving on then. Dr. Conroy, go ahead.
Yeah, and, you know, we're talking, it takes a long time to get a half ton or 3/4 ton. Can we change some of our policies on that? They don't have to be red, they can be a different color. You know, go to different dealers and see, if you know, what is available. Instead of,
That's something we talked about years ago, and I remember it was no, they gotta be red. So
yeah, I know, and it's silly because you look at some of the other people that are running vehicles and they're different colors.
yeah,
But then again, we're into this other project here for rental, so.
Yep.
So
Okay.
what-
see, make that as an option if you want. I don't know what council thinks of that. Like I say, I heard it loud and clear a few years ago that we have to stay red, and that's the way it is. But I do see other municipalities starting to go white. You know, I don't know if there's a discount there, but that's something to look at in the process. I guess when you're doing the tender, you can see what it's if there's any savings there. But we could do that in the tender process, I think.
Yeah, whatever's readily available, instead of having to wait for a year.
Okay. All right then, so let's move on.
We're now moving on to the water budget, and we're going to zoom into the CapEx. We've already discussed the operations side. This is another key piece that will affect the budget in the next minutes. I'll pass it over to Peter and push forward.
So where are we in the binder? Sorry.
We're under water, which should also be all under waste stuff. Everything is.
Back part of,
Tab 18.
yeah. C 606.
Are you hearing okay there, Larry, at home? You're muted, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, there is quite an improvement there. There's still some sides, and the mask, I think, is playing a role in how clear it is.
Okay, thank you.
Is everyone caught up?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, we'll get to it. So high level summary. Peter and I looked at this again now 3 times, and we identified what we think is the key piece here. The biggest thing that's going to move the needle here is George Street. No, we have consensus on that, but it's a quick level summary approval as it's we know how important this stage is.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we can just start at the top. The infrastructure master plan is basically George Street, the design. I just spoke with Peter Nielsen from the county yesterday, and we went through the tender here to retain a consultant. So that design is shared. We can get into that maybe another day for discussion, but it's broke out throughout the county and the township for who's responsible for what part of the infrastructure. So we went through that pretty good yesterday, Peter and myself, and we originally had $50,000 in the previous meeting, but as we re-examined yesterday, it's more like $100,000 to get the design, the construction. The tender is going to go out here in the next couple of weeks for the tender, the RFP for proposals for the design of George Street, right from concession all the way to Mary Street, the whole length of it. So this is a big number right off the bat, but they need to do the design on the whole street, not just a section that that we have the grant application out for. Hopefully that kind of clears it up so we know which way in our drainage and.
Okay, question. All right.
For you, Mr. Mayor. So we can use part of the consultant's report that the county had previously, and so that's cutting our costs down. I take it.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. That's all in here. We do have, I just actually swapped plans with Peter yesterday. The original engineer, the design, it was at 60%. So they're gonna definitely, that'll come into the consideration when we retain a new firm to do the design.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, carry on.
The next line item there is Aqua's proposal. I'm not sure if that's their regular capital list sheet that they submit to us every year for $67,828. It's up a little bit from last year. That does include the inspection of the water tower. That has to be done this year. It was optioned last year through Aqua, and the actual company that's coming to do the inspection we noted that we could put it off until this year. So that's one of the reasons why it's up a little bit, is for the water tower inspection there. So down on I guess it'd be the third line down, spare pump and motor for the well 1 and 4. Late summer, the one pump did fail. So this is just to have another one on hand. So if we have another pump go down, this is just to have a backup replacement. And then we get down into the George Street, the $700,000. So that is our portion of the grant if we get approval. I don't know if there's any questions on that or not, but
Question for Peter? Very good.
Yeah, we're going to good roads. Peter signed up too, and I think if we could meet him at one of the ministers with the proposal, I don't know when it'll be ready for shovel ready. Is it shovel ready? Are you going to call it shovel ready? Do you know what it's going to cost the total?
I believe we submitted, it was just under $2.8 million for that phase 1, which is Quebec Street to Matheson Street East, the entrance at the arena.
And I don't know, I think we've probably tried to see what all our options are for as far as grants, but I don't know if there's anything else out there. Now would be the time when we go to Good Roads to have a meeting with the minister, whoever's in charge, because they are still looking for, well, not looking for, but you can still apply for a time to meet with the minister and you know, tell them your problems. They all 4 parties have been set up, so.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. So yeah, definitely agreed, Councilor Pomeroy. This number here is a percent that we are, if the grant is approved, this is the percentage of the total number for the reconstruction of that section. So that's the grant, if approved, when it comes back, this is the number that we need for our portion of the grant.
So I think good roads is too late. Hopefully we got the budget done by then. But there's still 2 other phases after this probably. There's a second and a third phase. So if you're gonna get into any communication, we need to explain to them, you know, that this is, I think altogether, it's almost $9 million project or $7 million. It's a huge project. I don't have to get the numbers now, but this is the first phase. So, you know, one of those things that we'll have to look at as we get farther on is, again, OMPF, we haven't looked at it yet. We have about $1.5 million that we try to split up between the township and the town under normal circumstances. We try to spread it around. And this thing has been on the books for so long, it's a real priority. And the last thing we want to do is hold it up because it's in the budget this year for the county. And the last thing we want to do is them pave it and we didn't do our part. So it has to be done. It's getting to be a liability and it will be done. So that being said, we'll find it. Like if you can make a delegation at the road, good roads, you can try, you know, for the next phase even, because we do have this grant in there right now, application, and we've been approved by the province. We're still waiting to hear back from the federal side, and it's a federal grant. So they're the ones that call the shots. So let's see what we can get moving forward. If we can get that grant, we're in good shape. If not, we can't stop the process. So, okay.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, and the last item there is the roof at well 1 and 4 at the playground there at the arena. It's in dire need of some replacement, and that price is steel as well, no more shingles. So.
Okay. All right then. So, like on the water there, the increase, decrease, like I say, normally we're used to seeing $1 or whatever, like a, you know, how it affects the bottom line for the ratepayer as far as on the water bill. So I don't know, you know, what that comes out to, but I think that's something I need to see before we can, you know, it's easier for us to see that, I think, but it's just my thoughts. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, and to the increase, like we seem to worry about businesses, but we're ignoring the, you know, by increasing water and sewer rates, we're ignoring the Joe public, you know, for I think with a slight increase that we have here, that I think is an increase or a decrease? Increase. Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, we kept the sewer and water rates constant, given our current environment. Word of caution, we are ignoring Aqua's report in 2019, and we're still using 2017, 2018 rates. So you need to be aware. I'll leave it at that.
So that being said, we did create a last year for COVID. There was a freeze on the increase, but there was an increase agreed to last year. So there's no debate here. There is an increase coming, and I don't know if that's reflecting it, but the increase that we agreed to last year is going to come up. So I don't know if that's it or not, but we agreed to I don't know what the number was, but it was at least $1 a month or $2 a month. So we froze that with COVID money, but it's still there. Same as the bag tags for garbage. There was an increase there that we agreed to, but it's been on hold too. And I think it's in place now. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's a separate thing. So with the water, where is that in this?
For your Martin, I just circled up to where it is. To date, and you'll see the references for 2021 actual. If we look at the res versus the commercial and combine them, we're at a total subsidy of around 47,000 when we bucket the two. It's duly noted that these are carried forward, and we're not going to go back once those subsidies go away. So, yes.
All right then. So like I say, when we get to the draft portion of it, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I do like to see a number of what it means that, you know, on the individual household for an increase. It makes it easier. And I know Councilor Webb's good at the math and he can do it on the fly here, but to take the households and the increase. But anyways, that would be good to see in the future. So Deputy Mayor Groh, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, no, my only concern is we don't want to get into a situation next year, the year after, we're have to tell the users of the water system, oh gee, you got $6-7 on your bill now because we didn't do due diligence 3 years ago, or last year, to keep you up to where you should be. You have to be very careful of that. I know Councilor Pomeroy, and I understand that where he's coming from. But we have to keep abreast, you know, we're going to go behind and we're going to get hit harder in the end. So I just want to keep up to where we're supposed to be. So we'll be in trouble. And we can't afford big increments. That's my opinion.
Okay, so, and that's, yeah, we don't like spikes, nobody does, and so we're trying to keep it at a manageable, and it's not manageable. I mean, you know, we know our water rates are high. Water's expensive. I'm sure there's a lot around here that wish we didn't have water to deal with, but it's one of the things that we have to deal with. And I think we have a lot of plans here as far as, like, you know, when it comes to even some of the things that we're doing. So, you know, we're always worried about that, but we have to, you can't sit at zero forever. It's just not realistic in anything. So I guess when it comes down to it, the only thing we can do is look for efficiencies that I've taken Larry's line, but you know, and I think we're doing that too. So, you know, whether we're holding off on shingling a roof or putting a new roof on or things like that to try and keep the bottom line down, it catches up in the end. So I think we've spent enough time as far as trying to, you know, do what we can to keep it without spiking the rate, but we do have to be careful because we're working on old numbers here and we keep holding the line and it catches up and bites you in the end. So, okay. So, like I say, when we get to receiving the draft, like from just looking at the overview, personally, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know what council thinks, but it'd be nice to see what the number is. So when we're looking at you know, a commercial or a residential rate and it's, you know, $60 or $59, it'd be nice to see, you know, is it $100 or is it $59.75 or whatever. So anyways, if we can do that when we get to the end there, and it gives us a real picture of what it's going to be. Okay, thank you. Councilor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, and you know, in all fairness, the commercial rate, I know we've always tried to keep it down. Have they been raised? And you know, other municipalities, you know, I know we are our own municipality, but you know, we have to cover costs. So far, we're covering them. I just wish that we could have went ahead with the expansions like Norwood and Hastings have done in our area, and you know, had more contributions coming in for that, because it's something we got to look at for the future too.
So I think some of the projects we're doing now, that's what we're planning on is for the future. So,
Yeah.
And hopefully that helps level it off at least. If it doesn't, nothing's going to go down, but if we can start to level this thing off, that's going to be the thing, right?
Well, yes, more users, you know,
Yeah.
more revenue.
Okay. So we'll move on.
That concludes our water. We're now going to get into sewer. Peter, you're on the hot seat again. But we're getting close to wrapping up his public works part.
Now we got a water level adjustment. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, we'll skip right down into the capital again for the sewer.
Okay.
The first item on the list is the roof at the wastewater treatment plant. I have a price there of $50,000 from a contractor, a local contractor. We did do some repairs to it last year with some shingles and softened fascia and so forth, but it definitely needs to be replaced, and that is steel as well for the $50,000. The next line down is Aqua's $154,983. That is their capital list on the scope that they need to complete this year. The next line item is the EA of the wastewater cell expansion. That's $167,000. And Alexander Street, we are at 90% drawings of Alexander Street, and the $18,000 there is to complete the borehole testing for sampling to see what is in the ground. So when it goes out for tender, it's everyone knows what they're dealing with, as well as putting in the sanitary sewer replacement as well. The original scope of work when it started years ago, it didn't include the sanitary sewer. So that it was an extra $8,000 for them to go back to the design and bring in the sanitary sewer and the laterals into that. And the last item on the list there, the George Street sanitary sewer replacement of the $350,000. That was pre-approved before the grant was submitted for the George Street reconstruction for the phase 1.
Okay, good. And is that something that we can discuss later as far as, like, right now it's in the budget, and we approved it. So is the money already in there, like, or is that what for discussion too?
It's in the budget, yes.
Okay. Okay, let's see if there then. Yeah, that's enough. Okay.
So we'll now move on to waste, and unless everyone wants to file.
Yeah, want to take 5 minutes, and then we'll jump over to wait. Okay, Larry, we're gonna take 5 minutes and then all that. All right then, so we're gonna carry on here. Bit of a delay there on the intermission there, so we'll get back at it here. We're gonna move into the waste portion of the budget. So Peter, you're back on.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. We'll skip right down to the capital again on your first page, page 1.
Just 1 second. Okay.
Yes, so page 1, the capital. There was an increase in the front end bin collection for the 6th line. So that's just that was the actual, and the difference is the 2022 budget. It's up a little bit. Coming down the list, we did group some stuff there together. But the 6th line kiosks, the sheds at all the transfer stations, they're being carried forward. And there is a remaining $20,000 at the scale. Unfortunately, the weather got us there, and we still need to do some mathematics there with David to sort out the costs of per tone, or how that's going to work at the 6th line transfer. So Dave was working on sorting that out as to bag tags and weights per tone. And the bottom line is there, we did purchase last year two new 40-yard bins for the 6th line transfer, just because it was so busy. We needed the extra room. So this year The 42,000 is to create new, I call them stalls, but actually like for the bin to sit in and the people can throw their garbage in over top, like it's what's currently set up there, so.
Conroy, go ahead.
Yeah, so the new stalls, are they in price, are they in this price?
The bottom line, Councillor
Okay,
Conroy.
new stalls, okay.
Yeah.
I got it. And shed 6 line 2. What do you got there for sheds?
If we have a bottle return, that's across all of them, the bottle return for the shed. The 6 line has 2 for a reuse center. So one will be a reuse and one will be a bottle return.
Okay, so we're taking a bottle return, that, I have the lines we're looking after that.
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, yes, the lines are collecting there right now. There's been discussions on what we should have in place and what, they have brought some options forward to us as well, but I think the shed would be a.
Carryover, right?
Yes, the sheds are carryovers. It'd be much more user friendly, I guess I would say, with the sheds than. But they do have some options that they can bring down to the 6 line. I think that then it would be generic too, but that's up for council.
No, I get that.
Any other questions around waste? Carry on, Peter, do you have anything else on there then?
No, that's it for you, Mayor.
Okay. All right then. So I don't know where we're at there, but that's good. If you can incorporate that into the draft budget, and then we'll see where we stand with a number at the end, and then we'll get into the real stuff. Okay. Okay, so go ahead, David.
We'll now move on to roads, or excuse me, fire. I don't want to make it nervous there. We're moving on to fire, and Ray is here in person, so I'll turn it over to Ray. We're going to step through his capital expenditures proposed in 2020.
So through you, Mayor Martin, we'll just go down, I guess, start at the top of the lines there. The forestry hose and the supply hose, that's just a annual thing that gets put in there. Or I guess it says interior hose there on yours. A 20 horse portable pump complete. So the complete is everything on it, the flow strainer, the suction lines and everything else that goes with that. The Hearst hydraulics set of cutters for the station 2. The ones we have back there are just too small for today's cars and not powerful enough. The lift airbags is a must for just like the expectancy on that is over on the ones that we have. The SCBA masks, that's just in there because we have to replace to keep up. Cars are getting more of the rubbers and the seals. I did put the master fire plan in again and another pickup truck to replace the 2013. The other thing that was just added into this was a pump repair on tank 1. We were out at a call and it kind of flew apart underneath the truck. It's still workable, we can still use it, but it is leaking bad. And that just happened.
Summary.
Yeah, the Hearst, the hydraulic, you said the old one's not powerful enough, or?
They're the smaller set of the whole, both departments, and they're just not powerful enough for the new vehicles for cutting and stuff like that. So they will get switched back over to a combination tool, it's called. And it will be good for like a backup and or any forcible entry or anything that we have to do. So they'll be still in service, but just changed to a combination tool where they will cut and spread.
So it's not good for plastic, then, eh?
They can be.
No, but today's cars, they might.
Yeah,
No, just a question, Ray.
yep.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Larry?
Just some clarification. The other day when we were talking fire department, you indicated the next vehicle to be replaced. Is that the vehicle that we're looking at in this budget?
No, it isn't. The next big vehicle that will be replaced is in 2025, and it's the mini pumper at Station 2.
Okay, so what is this vehicle that we're budgeting for here?
This is the vehicle that the deputy's using, the 2013 F-150.
I thought we took that out of the budget then when we were talking the other day. The first day we talked about budget for fire.
No,
No, the budget was under zero, so no, we weren't doing that.
Yeah, the budget was under 0%, so we didn't take it out yet.
Okay, because we spent a lot of money on that truck just before. That's higher days.
yeah, it had complete brakes and everything put on it.
So right now it's still in there, Larry, and, yeah, there hasn't been any discussion like that yet. Larry, there hasn't been any discussion, but we'll leave it there for now.
All right,
Okay, go ahead, David.
That's it from my side. My proposal through Mayor Martin is to run the budget numbers with the truck and without, although I know, given that Ray's run a lean budget and with the additions of the pump failing yesterday, he's still at 1.19%, which is below majority of departments, if that can be taken into consideration.
Okay. All right then, so, yeah, so right now it's still in the, it could be in the draft still and see where it falls out at the end. Okay, Ray?
Yep, that's all.
All right then, so that's the fire portion of capital. Okay, all right then, so we'll move on to the next level or the next category.
It's now, we're on the last one, it's park and recreations.
So so you're done then, Ray, right?
But we can look at the total if you want again across the budget, just to see where Ray fits in.
Okay.
We are. So he's in the bottom percentile.
1.19, okay.
Yeah.
The fire's in the 1.19 and that's with all the weight increases and things, everything's in there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right then.
It's conservative. He's not going to be over budget, so but it's enough that we can
Keep moving.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's where it stands right now, and once we receive the full draft budget, we can look at some of these numbers in there, and some of them have been explained through the process here, and hopefully we can, some of them are for moving forward as far as when we see George Street, it's a huge hit, but we'll deal with how we pay for it, and that'll help those bottom lines. Okay, all right, well, thanks, Ray, that's good. And, we'll move into what's next on Parks and Rec. Okay, so we'll get Ryan in here for the Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. Got your bigger sheets. There you go. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, so we're gonna move into the Park and Rec portion and, Ryan, welcome. Oh, and you could try and slide that microphone down, see it's easier for me to side up to here. Sure. Yeah, put the button on and off. I could, do the. Yeah. So put it on when you're stop right now, so. Yep. So, hold it, push and hold the button there. There you go.
So I'll introduce Ryan's Park and Rec. You'll see TBD and the CapEx. There are a lot of moving pieces here. The good news is it's the last part of the capital expenditures we define before we drill down to what the proposed rate is in this iteration. Ryan has gone through and organized all the asset management references that have historically been given to us. If I can draw council's attention to the priorities and your feedback is invaluable as we define what's going to happen in 2022 in the proposal.
So through the process, you can announce, like, just say what page you're
Oh,
on.
yes,
every
yes,
once in a while.
certainly, yeah, excuse me.
Yeah.
That reference is, we're on the last page of it. We're on page 3 of 3. Now we're going to get into the actual figure sheets you have in front of you, and I'll share that on the screen for anyone who's remote. Okay. So this is the first section. I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. This is what Ryan has identified in Parks and Rec as the needs. The needs are highlighted here. I'll pass it over to Ryan as to why.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So since the last meeting, I've taken the full list of capital expenses and shortlisted it to a list of priorities where the needs are, some of the pressure points for our department. Understanding that the full list that council received previously was quite extensive. There was a lot of items on there. Those items, as we discussed before, are directly from the facility condition assessment plan. So those are going to continue to be on there every year. But what I've done for you today is just shortlisted that list of some of the higher priorities for the facilities for replacement this year. Starting at the top with the community space at the corner of Oak and George. That's a carry forward from last year. And then the strategic plans for the community center. So any development that we want to do there, any planning, it does go with the grant that we were successful with. So that's why you're seeing that in there. So those are two items that are just carried forward from last year. The next line under arena improvements, that's the $203,115.39. That's our portion of the grant that we received from the provincial federal government. So that's that comes from the administration reserve, but that was already previously committed to by council. Any questions for me in the facility?
Any questions?
Okay, so as mentioned in the previous meetings, the air conditioners seem to be the theme this year, based on some of the advice from our local contractors that have serviced these units. They've also agreed that not only is it in the facility condition assessment plan to be replaced, but they've also, based on the condition of those units, they feel that they need to be replaced. The one at the municipal office for sure, the two here are probably in the worst condition of anyone. So if we're going to pick one, that would be the one that I would recommend. We did replace all the furnaces in the fall, and it was brought up at that time as well that you're definitely going to want to make sure that you budget for new air conditioners in the spring. That it probably should be hooked back up. So just draw your attention to that. Any questions about the air conditioning before we move on to the town hall? Yeah.
Budget 10,000 was that for 2 Ryan or just 2?
Through you, Mayor Martin, at the Havelock Library, that's for 2 air conditioners.
Okay, thank you.
Question, they still work there?
They're working. However, they're 25 years old. And, you know, finding replacement parts for those units to do a repair job is difficult. It was suggested from the technicians that were in doing the work and servicing them, that we budget for them to be replaced.
Through Mayor Martin, the weakest point of these aging reciprocating compressors is indeed the compressor. Once the compressor goes, there's no fixing it. It fails, it's done. And given it's also R22 it's banned and you can't recharge it. So my sense is if we wait till it fills on a summer day and we're trying to get a unit and B, not paying a premium above and beyond this, I'd like to get ahead of this preventative maintenance. But up to council, of course. It's my
Yeah, so part of your facility master plan is are the air conditioners all in that and everything?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
If there's no other questions on the air conditioning units, we'll move into former town hall. So at this point, the bare minimum to get that building open and have the public be able to use that space, we need to replace the roof and we need to replace the accessible ramp. A budget price of $100,000. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. We're waiting on designs for the accessible ramp to be completed. So once the design is completed, we'll have a better idea what the actual costs are going to be for that accessible ramp. So that at this point, that's just a budget number in there. Like I said, it could be a little less, it could be a little bit more. We did receive quotes for the replacement of the shingles at the town hall, so those are relatively close to what council can expect for an actual cost there. So those two items are just replacing the roof and the ramp. That's the minimum work that you can do, that council can do to get that building open to the public again.
All right. Something.
So just keeping in mind that there is further work to be done at the former town hall. But these are priorities.
So on that number that we've seen of 300 and some thousand for, you know, to get up to date on the plan for the future, this is just the minimum we could spend to get it open.
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay.
So I think council, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, you know, this isn't gonna fix up the building, this is just gonna take care of the roof and replace the ramp. Maybe at a future date, if council wishes to regularly invest money into the town hall, we can complete some of those repair projects over there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, if I could just add to Ryan's comments.
Just to remind council, we did apply for a grant for the roof repair, which was unsuccessful. We have also applied for a grant for the ramp repair, and that remains outstanding. We haven't heard back on that one.
So I'm sure the roof is the most expensive part of the fix, but I imagine that ramp's gonna add up too once you get all the drawings and stuff in. Yeah, okay. Any questions on that so far? Take care of.
Okay, we'll move into parks equipment and parks development. The first item listed was the installation of a parking area at Concession Street Park. So we already kind of discussed that if we want to plan in the future for creating a parking space at that park, that we have some money budgeted and set aside to complete that.
So the one question I had there was if we don't need to put the parking lot in, like you say, and we want to start the process, even just something as simple as a gate there, that we get the outhouse in farther into the park would be a real help. And so I don't know, you know, what council's thoughts are, but it's just something that we've been approved for entrance, and we may not need the parking lot, but at least a gate into there for future, it might not hurt if it's not too expensive. doing a parking lot itself, just the entrance. It's something just for discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, we could probably have it there anyway, where the chain crosses. I know, the guy that pumps. He pulls up in there anyway, pulls right up on the sidewalk, so,
Yeah, like,
you know, take the chain down and one in with the fortify.
yeah, that's what I said, if there was even a gate there or something, or a chain's fine, but I mean, just something that's more, whatever we can do, but, just to get that out of the sidewalk. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so, sorry. If I could just expand upon that. So, through you, Mayor Martin, we are now commencing, and you'll see on our next agenda, next Tuesday, regular council meeting, there is a report which commences the public review of the sale of the medical center building. As part of that building, we are allocated 4 parking spaces in the medical center parking lot. Just another consideration for this particular budget item.
okay, so do you want to carry on that?
Sure. The next item is the replacement of the commercial zero turn, which is the primary mowing equipment that our parks staff use in the summer to maintain our green spaces. This piece of equipment is 8 years old. It was scheduled to be replaced in 2019. We've been fortunate enough over the last couple of years that we've been able to stretch that out. Recommending that we try to source another one, similar to the situation with any trucks that there's a long lead time on these things as well. So if council wishes to proceed with that, we can begin the process of looking for another unit to replace that.
Yeah, so I think you're gonna have to, and good luck, because I had to go a long way to get one, so, there's not many around, but I hope you can. For commercial, you can get lots of lawnmowers, but not a commercial.
Any questions on that? Before we move on?
Did you have something, Larry?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I couldn't quite hear the comments regarding the parking lot on Concession Street with the pending sale of the medical center. That budget item would be removed, the 30,000 as a cost.
Might be able to knock it down a lot.
Through you, Mayor Martin, so just to clarify, the Parks and Recreation budget allocates parking area due to sale of medical center, $25,000.
30 on this one.
Well, I'm looking at 25, so it's 25 or 30. It's in that neighborhood, so $30,000. In your agenda package for next Tuesday's open session regular council meeting, you will see a staff report which commences the public review process of the sale of the medical center. One of the elements of that sale allocates 4 parking spots to the township to be dedicated for the park next door. So for council's consideration of that item in the budget.
Thank you, Bob. So in other words, everything goes the direction we're anticipating. This budget item of $30,000 would come out of the budget.
Yeah, that's what we were saying, and the discussion was that there might be a possibility of leaving a little bit there to maybe put a gate, or like Councilor Pomeroy said, there is a chain there, but just to get the entrance off the road for, you know, the outhouse and access to the park. Yeah, it'd be a lot smaller than what's there.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we'll carry on.
Next item is the construction of the splash pad at 39 George Street. Right now, we currently have a application in to get funding for this project. What I put in there is 130,000, and what that is the township's portion, plus what we had committed to in the application for fundraising, so community fundraising. So it's about 68,000 each, but I put a budget of 130,000 in there, just to make sure that we cover the townships and the
grant.
for the grant, so that just covers off our portion, so. Hopeful that we'll be successful in this area. Since the last meeting, I had the full amount in there, the 335 for the budget for that project to be completed solely on the taxpayers' rates. So right now, it's been adjusted to just reflect the townships and the fundraising portion of the project.
That's good. That makes sense. So, and then, yeah, if we're not successful on the grant, we'll have to deal with that. Okay. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Ryan. I know we don't have any idea when he might find out when this grant is. Can you tell me again what grant we went through to get that? To do that?
Through you, Mayor Martin, there was a infrastructure Canada grant.
Okay. Thank you.
All right then. Carry on.
Next item, the next two items are replacement of the, the first one is the 2004 3/4 ton crew cab. This truck is 18 years old. Seen a lot of repairs over the last few years. Between the 2004 and the 2011 truck that we currently have, over the last 4 years, we spent approximately $30,000 in repairs. This money represents the township ordering new trucks. I know we've had other discussions through other departments, lead times on these vehicles, so something for council to consider moving forward.
Okay, Councilor Conrad.
Yeah, 2 trucks. We've got 3 employees. Doesn't work out very good, and we've allotted a new 1/2 ton for the fire department. And we've refurbished the chief's old truck, so it could be a hand-me-down. $100,000 for trucks is not justifiable because you don't put that many miles on. I just can't see it. Like, you cannot justify why you would need 2 trucks. I can't see how you could. Because we got a trailer, we bought a trailer here a few years ago to tow behind the truck. To make it work with 1 truck. And how often do we see that trailer? Not very often. So I think we better have a look at that, and that's my own feeling on, we don't put any miles on it. Like, the furthest we go is what, Kosh Lake? Back to Cordova. So,
Bicycles. Let's get bicycles.
yeah, Jim, that's one of your favorite saying, let's get a bicycle. Yeah, well, you're
Can't do
you're
business
spending the
without
taxpayer
tools.
dollars here.
We can't do business without tools. And
That's right, and we have the tools, we just have to use
Okay.
them.
David, do you have something to?
Well, that's that, and I don't want to throw gas on the fire here, but 2004 truck, just to get that truck safety last year was $10,874. That's to be safe. If you were driving to Kosh Lake with a vehicle that would pass, and it's an accident, someone's hurt, well, I guarantee you it's gonna be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So Ryan is acting in I feel, in a responsible way. However, I don't want to repeat myself. My fingers are crossed that the enterprise deal will come through, and this will be enticing for everyone, and that it's not going to be an allocation of 3 trucks, 1 to fire, 2 to Ryan, for a total of $150,000. It's going to be more like an outflow of cash of call it $12,000 total for the trucks for a year. I'd like to park and hold, and I'm going to push hard on the county and enterprise. I hope to present something for it in the budget so we can have a serious look.
Yeah, and I'm on one of the committees for that. I'll be surprised to see that done before our budget's done, because there's still there's glitches in it. There's good pros and cons of it. So it's not, that's why it's not moving very quickly. There's a lot of debates over it. So that being said, but the leasing side of things, like Trent Hills does it. So this department is one, in the summer is when you really need 2 vehicles, in the winter it's kind of a little less, right? That's what shows a lot of times. So that might be something worth looking at in the future as far as, and the building department's the same. We got a truck that sits all winter over there. We don't ever talk about that one. It's been sitting behind Midtown for months now, because we don't need it in the winter time. So there is things that we need to look at for the future to try and make things better. And those are 2 departments just off the top of my head sitting here that we could maybe look at a different way of doing it. Unfortunately, we need them in the summer for both departments, so you can't say, well, we'll use this one at this time and we'll use this one at that time. They both need them at the same time. Summer is when we're busy. But the other side of this thing that I was kind of worried when we were doing the operating side is that number that we've seen for mileage of using your own vehicle. It kind of gives you a false impression of how much you do need to get around, but it's easier just to put a 0 in and don't charge for mileage. But if staff is using their own vehicles, they need to start charging mileage so we get a real picture of what it's costing to do business. Right now, everybody's hesitant, don't want to put mileage in. Council's quick to put mileage in, so staff should too. So that's all I can say. Go ahead.
All right, to summarize Councilor Conrad's thoughts, I'm aligned that $150,000 for trucks in this budget is not a top priority, but there is a more efficient way to do this with a different way of financing. So both sides are warranted and noted from the treasurer's side. I'll do what's best and present as best.
And it's always hard with 2 in there the same year. That's the other thing, is that there's a way of splitting them up. We have other, like even in the roads department with the big trucks, it's a killer when you see them in there together. It's so nice that there's a gap between them. So that's another thing there, is if there's some way, like, of offsetting them for, a couple of years apart even, it probably would be a lot easier to handle. But at the Pro, they're releasing 10-year-old vehicles to try and get through the day. And if we want to go there, there's no need. We can do it. So anyway, okay. Carry on.
Hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Larry.
I'm trying to remember Ray's comments. The year of the truck that the deputy fire chief is driving, what year was that vehicle?
13.
13. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, mine.
Through you, Mayor Martin, just to follow up your comments regarding not having multiple trucks in the same year. I think one way to avoid that, and we are heading down this path, but we do have a replacement schedule, or we're working on a new one. I think if we follow our replacement schedule, we do try to avoid having multiple vehicles come to budget on the same year. We tend to get into trouble, and it becomes multiple vehicles in the same year when we try to extend the life and go beyond our replacement schedules, and then things start to overlap. So it's just something to be mindful of.
Okay. All right then. Carry on. Brian?
Yeah, just a final comment on the replacement of vehicles. I just wanted to confirm for council that we have 3 full-time staff, 6 months of the year, but on the other part of the year, we have 2 students, so that brings us to a total of 5. And that often results in a daily occurrence of myself driving my own personal vehicle to do township work. So I can justify the need, based on the services and the programs that we provide to the township. 2 trucks is definitely required. Definitely required through the summer. And what we do in the winter is we move that truck over to the roads, we put a plow on it, and then it's over on the roads for the winter. So, yeah, we can share that vehicle in the winter time, but come summertime, the Parks and Recreation Department requires 2 vehicles to perform the level of service that we historically performed in the past. So I just wanted to confirm that for council.
Okay. So that's what you're doing now, then, that 3/4 ton is used by the roads in the winter?
Yes,
Okay.
How many times?
whenever they need it.
No, I just wondered, 'cause I see one of the park alongside the arena down there, snow covered, so I just wondered.
Okay, well, that's what we've been doing. So, unless there's a change in direction from council, that's how we've been using our fleet.
And I think that's what we're trying to get to, is that we can make better use of the vehicles. Like I say, maybe there's a way of sharing the building departments too, because they're sitting there with a pile of snow. I get calls, that's why they're around the back now. They were up front. So anyways, they're sitting there, so we'll leave it at that, but I think that's what council's looking for, just to make sure that we're using these, we need these vehicles. There's a perception out there that we have, not your department in particular, but all departments, that there's, a truck for everyone, and that's what I think council's reacting to those few that are complaining. But we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing here, so. Okay, and like I say, that you've got 2 in there, or 1.5 is what you need, but it sounds like the 1 truck is getting used. Department too. Okay.
Yeah, and if we did have the 2 trucks within the Parks and Recreation Department, year round, that would also mean that I wouldn't have to use my personal vehicle either. So, which is something that I think that we should be trying to work toward in the future.
But the other side of it is we're getting a false, when we see $13 in there. I know why it's there, but I think I'd rather see a real number there of, if you have to use your vehicle, the same as if I have to use mine. It's not getting us anywhere by not putting anything in, so. Anyways, that's whatever it is, I don't even know what it is now, but they don't do it very often. It's gotta be 59 cents a kilometer, or something like that. So, okay. Is that what it is now? Okay. Well, yeah, whatever. That's just, there is a cost to doing business, and I want to see it, so.
Yeah, just to clarify, we follow the county rate on that. So whatever, and it's
Through you, Mayor Martin, with respect to mileage rates, we follow the county rate. And I believe it's based on Revenue Canada's annual adjusted rate. So that's what we do. I believe it's 62 cents right now.
I think there was a recent adjustment to it.
Okay. All right then, so carry on then, or David, go ahead.
If I could pause here, if we entertain Ryan's wants, really needs, depending, but here comes the debate. If I roll up all of Ryan's needs, and the CapEx line here, if everyone could follow on the screen, we're at 718,000. So your feedback on this, as I take a step back and run the tax rates, is important, given the list we just went through. Can I have people's feedback, please?
So that's got the stone hall and
It
all
does.
the-
It's
that's
all
got
road-
facilities and rec and parks and rec all in one.
Correct.
Cost.
Capital expenditures, the list that Ryan just went through is rolled up now to 718,000.
And that's the slot pad.
Yes.
Okay.
What was the consensus of the councils, if I may?
I'll open it up and go around the table. Oh, sorry.
Mayor, I just want to comment on that just before the board. That's that number, the 127%, that's without taking anything out of the Parks and Recreation and administrative reserves. So that's driving that number up. Now, every year, we take from our operating budget and we transfer them to reserves to pay for these capital expenses. So a lot of these capital expenses, replacement of trucks, replacement of mowers, if we want to do park development, add new park amenities, we're budgeting for that every year. That $102,000 that we transferred from operating budget to reserves, that's what that money is for. So we don't have to take all that money, we don't have to put it into operating. We should be looking at taking a portion from the reserves, and that, because that's what we've already budgeted for.
Okay.
Point well taken. I'll draw people's attention to the reserve levels in Ryan's department right now and get consensus with that. And Ryan, yes, thank you for highlighting that. So here we are. It's on the screen if you can follow that. He's got a reserve right now, assuming withdrawal of 116 is what I assumed. But we can certainly increase that given he's got 670,000 in reserves. So.
All right then. Any other questions or comments around that? Go ahead, Councilor Palmer.
Yeah, if we get back to the general state of repair problems and all. I wish to increase the floral displays within the village. 5,000. Do we need to increase the floral displays?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councilor Palmer's comment. It's something that we started investing in a few years ago. I don't know if you noticed, like, I'm sure council's noticed, we've increased our floral displays throughout the township. It's just something that we've started doing a few years ago, and it was something that staff would like to continue doing. And it's totally up to council what they want to do, if they wish to back, if they're happy with the level of the floral displays that we're providing right now, then we can take that out. But if they wish to increase that beautification of the downtown area, then that's what that money would be spent on.
Personally, I think we're at a threshold. They do look very, very, very nice because we've had a lot of comments on them, but I think we've reached a threshold where we don't have to spend another $5,000 of the tax dollars, and you're recommending replacing the banners. That's another 4,000. What banners?
So through you, Mayor Martin, so those are the March through the summer banners, and they are tired, they need to be replaced. They haven't been replaced in about 4 years. So given the location where they are, they do take a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
On Highway 7.
Yeah, further to that, I don't know how many people see our banners. You know, we have nice flowers in the summertime. Some banners, yes, but how many different topics do we have for banners? Like we have, how many different ones do we have now?
We have a spring and we have a summer banner and a winter banner at the top.
Yeah, that's correct. And most recently, the shop local banners. So this used to be an item that was brought forward under the economic development budget.
Yeah.
And then since that position has been held up for a couple of years, it's been something that Parks and Recreation has taken on. So
Is any of that gardening for the new park? Is there anything there that's involved, like any of that new flowers, like have you already allotted that for I've seen the tender out for the park. Is it got flowers and everything in it, or was any of these planters gonna be at it?
no, there's separate
Okay.
funds for that part. What we were planning for the increase for full displays was to increase hanging baskets on both Concession Street and then up 46, because we don't really have anything on those directions entering into town. We really just have number 7 highway. So we were thinking of just trying to expand out a little bit further from each direction coming into the town, to the village.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, like as far as Christmas decorations, they're complaining that they're not getting any on the north side of 7, they're all going south, so they want some pulled back.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's another piece of this. So, and anyways, we do get lots of compliments on them, but there is a threshold, so there is a number in there, and it doesn't mean it has to stay that number. Whatever you have to work with is what you work with, right? So, Dave and then Barry. I'm off. Okay, there. There we go. Cool. Okay.
All right, sure, Mr. Mayor. I know we're trying to keep this budget down, that's our responsibility. You gotta remember when you go into our community, it's the first thing that people see. We want tourism. Anybody watched TV the other night for the Johnny Harris show that was on for Warkworth? They did a dang good job. It was about municipality. And that's what we're supposed to do though too. We have, youth facility in Smith Drive, we've got a lot of stuff going for us. If you don't want to spend that whole number, that's one thing. You have to keep our municipality in the forefront. That's one of the ways of doing it. It's been proven by all the comments we've got from the flower arrangements and baskets. And I think increasing them debt by debt is not a big deal. So I think we can come to a happy deal with this.
Okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, what's our total we spend on flowers now?
Through you, Mayor Martin, are you asking about how much each flower?
No, I want the total of all the flowers that we have in the summertime. Well, they can't have them in the winter time, they kind of will, but on all the posts and the big planters. I know the big planters don't come cheap.
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to answer your question, the easy answer is there's $65 per planter and per hanging basket.
It didn't answer my question. I said
So the overall, what
the
you
total.
got in the budget for now is like it's 7,000, 10,000. I've seen a number one time.
It's roughly around $6,000. That's regular maintenance, and that's not coming from here, that comes from the operating budget. That comes from materials and supplies through our Parks and Rec operating budget to purchase those every year.
So the one thing that's changed in those, by going planters, as far as we used to have them in the ground, and we had hours and hours and hours of weeding. We don't have that anymore, so on the operating side of it, I imagine it's a lot less as far as the maintenance, you just water, right? So anyway, that's just another part of it. So anyways, it's like they said, like whatever the number we leave there, I think that's the end, and I'll open it back up to Larry. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what's being said here. Like we all know, the flowers add the beauty. We've had emails sent to staff raving about how beautiful they are. So it's a good thing. So rather than carry this on any longer, I would suggest that instead of $5,000, we cut it in half and be a little more realistic and still add some more of those planters throughout the area that showcase our village.
Okay, and that's exactly, what we can do here. There's a number there that was suggested by staff, and, we're agreeing here, and for the most part, but maybe just a little different number, so it's up to council. Councilor Ellis is suggesting that we knock that 5,000 back to 2,500. What's council's thoughts here?
I agree with it.
Okay, yeah, so Deputy Mayor Giroux agrees, so that's kind of like going halfway here, so we don't need a motion, you don't need a motion, I think this kind of remove. No, it's okay. Yeah, just knock it down to 2,500, is council okay with that? I agree too myself, it's it's a number to work with, and I love those emails. They were the best ones last year, so, okay.
Don't forget the replacement, or carry on with the replacement of banners as far as I'm concerned. I got the answer that I wanted.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to be part of you.
Martin, if we can get the consensus of Brian's list here, and I'll take it away and do what's needed to make it work, given the priorities that are still. Let's start with the library. This is aged 19 years, was in the 2019 asset management plan. Associated costs on the right of $600.
The ones that Ryan really said had to be done are the ones at the administration building. I just wonder if, if we were to do the ones here and change the library, it's only open a couple days a week anyway. Isn't it? Oh, sorry, there you go.
So
You just said you said
earlier part of the presentation, I had said that, for sure, the two air conditioners at the spots should be replaced.
Okay. What's everybody's thoughts here? Go ahead, Larry.
It's okay, I just spotted it, thank you, I'm okay.
Okay, so we're moving through the list here. So we're talking air conditioners. So the first one is the library. Are we leaving it in or out? Council thoughts?
It's gotta be replaced.
So Council Palmer and then Councilor Giroux, or Deputy Mayor Giroux, sorry.
Yeah, they have to be replaced, there's no doubt about it. But if it's still working. But what's it gonna cost to replace? The same as it would right now.
So through you, Mayor Martin. I'm assuming, like, I think it's good planning to, like, if we have, if there's 5 air conditioners in total, I think we can get better pricing. If we're gonna look at replacing them, I think we can get better pricing if we plan for that, and we can get, quotes done, publicly, and bring that information back to council, if they approve it to be part of the projects that they approved for 2022. I don't know, I hate to get into a situation where, we get a call and we have a repair and it's $1,000 repair. And then, what position are we in then? Do we go ahead and repair it or do we go ahead and replace it at that time? So that's why I'm kind of looking at it from a preventative maintenance perspective, as opposed to reacting to it.
David?
If I can add, I've pulled use this information sometimes, but at the start of my career was an engineer in the building automation space, both commercial and residential. Spent 6 years in this industry. I'm in support of an R22 20-year-old chiller on a roof that's probably not very efficient, that has been deemed to be replaced. Usually it's 15 years, not 19. That's the most. If we wait with the current global supply chain issues, it's not going to improve the age, not this summer. If we're not ahead of it and we wait till August and heat the summer and the library is sweltering hot for a month, we're not going to get. That's my advice to council.
Okay. Dave, Deputy Mayor Giroux, and then do you have something on this?
I disagree.
And then Larry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree 100%. Thank you.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if I heard it correctly or not, but we've got 3 air conditioners on the budget here. They're all old. As a rule, you don't get much more than 25 years out of them. Did I hear Ryan properly when he said if they replaced all 3, they would maybe get a better price? Did I hear that?
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, I believe we can get better pricing if we go ahead and look for quotes for replacing all of them.
Well, I'm in agreement with that, whatever the rest of council decides, but I'm in agreement with that because we don't want to leave them until they're broke down and then we're scrambling and probably pay more money. So I'm in agreement to replace all three.
Last point from my side, through you, Mayor Martin, we can go through the canoe LAS that has discounted pricing and likely more availability if we use our buying power as a municipality. Prices are transparent, no negotiations, it is the price, and it's often 20 to 30% below retail costs. So if you can afford us the chance to look that up, that would be nice.
That's a good idea. Well, yes.
And just for clarification for everyone who's listening, LAS is the local authority service, which is a buying group of municipalities throughout Ontario. And there often is group buying discounts available, so we try to take advantage of those whenever we can.
Okay, so the budget number that's in here, that's gonna stay there though, until we do the pricing, so that would be where there's some residual left next year. We would kind of roll that back in, right? Is that how it works? Or you're not gonna get the number before we finish this budget.
I'll have this number for you by Monday, end day.
Okay. All right, so we might be able to do a little better than that, so we'll see where it falls out.
Yeah, I was just gonna confirm that the I'm recommending that the money come from facility reserves, so this is just a budget number. The actuals will be what the actual costs are, so there will be no, over, it'll only be deducted what the actual expenses are.
Okay, so we'll move on then and get through this, so.
So the next item is the replacement of shingles, asphalt shingles at the former town hall. Open up the council for comment.
That's another one of those things, how we pay for it is another story, but you can't have a building with a leaky roof, so it has to be fixed. How we do it will probably be the later discussion, but it should have been done years ago. And this is another one of those things that we left and you're gonna pay for it. So if we keep leaving it, we're gonna keep paying for it with everything else that it's wrecking. So our job here is to try and figure out how to do it. So Larry, did you have your, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering, can Dave update the screen because I don't see town hall here? Thank you.
So there you go.
Pending the sale of the medical center, don't we have money in there for replacing the roof at the medical center?
From last year.
Why don't we just taking that and putting it towards town hall?
Big budget.
Yes, it was budgeted 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes. That's my question.
So through you, Mayor Martin, last year it was approved $140,000 for the replacement of the roof at the medical center. That included a pitched roof and an enclosed entrance.
So it's in somewhere that we can find the money, that's what I'm saying. So how we deal with this, the money that was budgeted last year is sitting somewhere.
The money last year that was approved by council is in the facilities reserve.
Okay, so this would be a reserve item and it's a lot cheaper than what we were gonna spend, so it's not gonna affect the tax rate, so we should leave it in there.
No, and through this budget, it's being proposed that expense come from the facility reserve to cover.
So that's good. Okay, so I think it has to stay in there and it was budgeted for a different item, but it is in the reserve, so we can deal with it with reserves and it won't affect the tax rate, so. Right? Okay. So carry on.
Next item is the replacement of the accessible ramp. As council is aware, the ramp has been closed and we're not able to reopen the building until that ramp has been replaced. So that is just a budget number there. Like I said earlier, we have to complete a design. Once that design is completed, we'll have a better idea of what it's going to cost to actually do the construction on
that ramp.
So once again, there is some reserve money there that was put for something else, and this has to be done to open it up. So it can be pulled from reserve without affecting the bottom line. And without hurting our reserves, as far as it was allocated for something else, but we can change that is the way I understand it. Am I right, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Dave?
So we have this curious to you, Mr. Mayor. We go ahead with the ramp, which we made nothing to do. Basically, to the number of delegations that were here. We can pull that as reserve. Do we have to? Capture the reserve is what I say.
So David, you can correct me, but so what I'm seeing here, and I always go the simple route, so I don't know whether I'm offline or not, but so what we said is there's we put it, like Councilor Webb brought forward, we put $140,000 away last year that we're not going to be using. Theoretically, that could come out of the reserve because that's not there and be used for some of these items. They will be taxed for as far as our, as far as for future, like the roof will have there will be some money going into reserve every year to do it next time. But that being said, there's $140,000 there that we can use on some of these facilities to try and get them. Even when we were talking about the air conditioning, I mean, you could almost take that $140,000 and spread it through this budget here on items. Those things might have been budgeted for already through reserve, but I mean, these new things that just popped up, we could use that reserve, get them in the books, get them done, and then they'll be just part of the future budget schedule. Okay, so, is that what you were saying, Art? Okay. Okay, so do that too, David, and see where it comes out.
Understood. So if we may, through Mayor Martin, we're now going to move into the other streams of CapEx to review that Ryan's put forth. And in fairness to Ryan, he did provide a proposed reserve schedule for his CapEx that he's just went through.
Yeah.
I'll quickly update this. So Ryan's in the second iteration of his CapEx, and we'll revisit that. That mistake is on me. Ryan did provide that information.
Okay. So how much of yours is left then, Ryan? Can we get through this before lunch? Is that the idea, or do you want to have lunch and come back? So I don't know where you're.
What time of lunch do you ready, Bob?
Time you have a lunch.
Through you, Mayor Martin, should be coming anytime. 12:30 was the target date.
Okay, so we'll go until it's ready and then,
Well, that's a few minutes.
while it's here. Okay,
I'll ask them to let me know when it's.
okay.
So moving on from the former town hall, back into the parking lot at Concession Street Park.
So what I was talking about, and it's entirely up to council, all I was saying is we were approved from the county to put an entrance in there. We kind of have an entrance now, but I mean, we don't need a parking lot, I don't think, as of yesterday, or whatever. So it's just an idea that as long as we should at least get the entrance off of 30 for now, there's not a lot of cost there. I'm thinking whether it even has to be a budget item. I just suggested a gate or whatever to get the outhouse up back in farther like it used to. It used to go back in, I'm not saying all the way back to the tennis court, but it used to go in there off so it wasn't in your face all the time. And if there was a proper entrance there, the truck it back in. So whether it needs to be a budget item or you can just find that money somewhere, but like I was thinking $1,500, but or a couple $1,000. I'm not thinking 25 or 30,000. So anyways, just a thought. Go ahead, Dave.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I could be mistaken, but I thought Peter gave us a number on cutting the curbs and putting that entrance in there with quite a bit of money.
Was it? Okay.
$25,000.
That's fine. Well, that was for the parking lot too.
No.
though. Oh, okay, all right, so I'm mistaken. Got it. There it is.
Okay, moving on, replacement of the commercial zero turn. Primary mower for parks maintenance. Was due for replacement in 2019, we've been able to force it, we've been lucky, we've been able to stretch that out a little further. Staff is recommending that we start the process of purchasing a new one, given that there's lead times for the actual procurement of the product.
I stay to it. Yeah, leave it in there.
Next item, construction of the splash pad. As mentioned earlier, we have an application for a grant. We're just waiting for approval on that. 130,000 is budgeted for, and that represents the township's portion of that grant if successful. Location of the splash pad to be constructed at 39 York Street.
And we need to have our portion in there, one way or the other. Hopefully, we don't have to add to that, but as it is right now, if the grant's successful, that's our portion and it should be there. So, and we do have the donation part in there too, so. Good. Go ahead.
And if it's not successful, we're on to.
Yeah, you can say you can tell. Okay. Council thoughts, leave that number in. Okay, carry on.
Next item is replacement of 2004 3/4 ton crew cab. Vehicle that provides services for the Parks Recreation Department activities.
David's looking into that.
So that'll come back. I guess it's in there. Let's just see what comes up at the next discussion as far as. Yeah, but David.
If I may, Martin, my proposal is to give you the most optimal capital structure for that least cost this year in the budget, while affording key trucks that you see in the municipality, and make a decision from there. I believe that 3 new trucks paying $150,000 is likely off the table, but if we look at it from a different view, a cheaper cost of capital, it may be a consideration.
So when we look at different prices, like when you're, like, that seems high, when we see, because I'm always amazed at what municipalities get trucks for. Like the park or the, what do you call it? Public Works there, we're looking at, or was it Public Works or was it the building? We're looking at 40,000. On these ones here, we're looking at 150 for 2. My math says 80. You know, so there's something wrong with the number there anyways to start with, I think, but go ahead.
If you remember, Brian's way of approaching this, a budget, a conservative number, is traditionally the way I've seen things moving on the first iteration. Certainly in the final iteration, when tough decisions need to be made, then we'll be as lean as we can. But Brian's approach, top down, I'm aligned with traditionally.
Okay, well, the number's in there, and if you're gonna look into that, I think that's something that we need to do and see where it falls out. If there's a way of separating them, that's another option, but you know, so if they're needed, let's see what, if we can do it. That's the bottom line. If we can't do it, we can't do it.
Next line item is the purchase of, purchasing and increasing floral displays, so hanging baskets through the village. I think we had a good conversation around that, and if council wants to just provide some direction on the amount, or if any, that they would like to invest in that.
I think we heard the 2,500 is seemed to be agreed to, so if you could put that down to 2,500, David, and see where it comes out. Okay.
Last item on the schedule is the replacement of the banners, March to September. These banners are 4 years old. When we took them down in the fall, I knew that we should be budgeting for new ones in the spring, so.
So last year we partnered with the Legion on a bunch of them there. Are they going back up again this year?
Yep, so what council approved was to have the banners put up from September, from September until after Remembrance Day. And then we put the decorations up for Christmas. So those banners are gonna last a few years for sure, and we're definitely planning on reinstalling them in September.
And if I might add to that, so for me to hear, we provided, put them up and take it down, but individuals pay for that.
I think that's how it works. So we partnered with them, didn't?
So through you, Mayor Martin, the Legion, that was a Legion project. They initiated that project, they paid for it. The township looked after the services of the installation and whatnot now.
Okay.
In fact, the chamber, we paid that.
Thank you, that cost of revenue. I think
I think it was around $600.
I think it was a good idea, but for the winter time, it's quite a wash. The colors were a wash. It didn't really suit my eye.
Okay, so is that the end of your report in there?
That concludes that replacement schedule as provided to council. So open to any questions or comments, any feedback from council that we can look at making some changes or anything that isn't on here that maybe you thought that should be included in the budget.
I think it's all in there. It's the only thing that I've been looking at, and like I said, I don't know whether it needs to be in here, but I really hate seeing them ball lights lit up all the time. And it might be something you could do without, but we need to look at something like Hastings has, where they just have a service run over to their, like a line, a plug or something in there. They can just put a couple of spotlights on the rink itself instead of lighting up the whole field. I'm sure the hydro is a killer, and plus it's just shortening the life of the ball diamond lights. So I think it's something to look at, but there again, it's not a huge ask, but it's something I think would help in the future rather than turning all. I've seen them on again this morning for flooding.
So when you were there, did you see all of the lights on?
No.
Okay, because we put them so that there was only a certain amount of lights that came on. It wasn't the full. When we first initially started, we had the full lights on, and we scaled them back. We were able to put them on a timer, and definitely using 50% less of consumption than we originally started with. So we improved that.
Okay, all right, well, just something, like I said, I was over Hastings yesterday and seeing what they have. And it's a lot less than that, so, okay, we'll leave it at that then. It was just an idea to try and help with hydro.
Brian, this is the question, and maybe it's somewhere else, but I'm not sure. We haven't talked about boat ramps, and I know we have some repairs to do on our boat ramps in some of the lakes, so I don't know whether that's the line budget, we just keep carrying on every year, or how that works.
Yeah, we talked about it last year, it came in and went out real quick, but yeah, there's been still, and I'm sure that's gonna come at the public meeting next week. So that might be, I think it's something to be prepared for, because there is some questions around docks and things still, so.
Okay.
So no, that's a good point. I wasn't gonna bring it up today, but I think that's something to keep on the radar, because I'm sure it's gonna come next week. So it's not in your budget, but that'll be something council will have to make a decision on for the future. We talked about it last year, it didn't go. So, okay, so if we could keep that on, David, for the questions as far as, and I don't know if that was in the survey, because we're gonna have to review the survey again too, just to make sure that I know George Street was in the survey and we're looking after that, so, and there's a lot of items on there that we are dealing with, so we just gotta make sure they don't fall off the card.
Through you, Mayor Martin, there were 4 different independent references to improving boat launches. If I may, we could reiterate this at the start of Tuesday's meeting to get.
Sure. Okay. All right then. So, all right, so we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a half an hour break or so and come back and see if we can wrap this up this afternoon. So, okay, so Larry, we're gonna take a half hour break and for lunch and in Alden, and we'll come back at 2:15 or 1:15. Councilor Ellis?
All right then. Is everybody ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll look for a motion to resume the budget meeting for today. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councilor Ellis. Councilor Ellis, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll carry on with Parks and Rec Capital. Is that what we're going into here now, David?
Correct. We've gone over Ryan's priority list. Now we're getting more into the call it a wish list. But important that we earmark this as we go forward and we can get a forward-looking forecast as we go, as we improve. So on that note, I'll pass over to Ryan and we'll quickly run through this and try to wrap it up in 20, 30 minutes.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, so this is the full list of capital projects for all facilities that are under the Parks and Recreation umbrella. So we've already discussed the carry forwards for the community space at the corner of Oak and George, the strategic plans. On here, you'll see that the roof for the medical center is listed here. That's going to fall off, but that money will be carried forward in the reserve as previously approved. So we don't have to touch on that, I don't think. So I know these are kind of being referred to as a wants list or a wish list. I don't know. I don't really see it that way when it comes to facilities. These are fixed physical assets that have that every component of the facility has a life expectancy. So at some point or another, these items need to be addressed, replaced, repaired, whichever council decides to do. So a lot of them are maintenance items that really have been left over the years that are yet to be addressed. Starting with the first one of the Havelock Library, the caulking and glazing of the windows. This was put forth in the 2019 facility condition assessment plan to be done. It's not something that we've completed yet. The window lintels, so there's quite a bit of surface rust on the south side of the building. We recommend at this point to treat those and repaint them. Something.
Excuse me, this internally.
Through you, Mayor Martin, we can address some of these issues from a maintenance perspective through our operating costs and through our own internal staff.
And our summer students, you know, like say the rust on that outside of the windows, painting. I don't know. I just wonder.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, Council Pomeroy's comments. Yeah, that's stuff that we always try and address through summer maintenance and through seasonal maintenance, I guess you could say, with our internal staff. The carpet at the library, 20 years old. It was noted under the initial assessment that it was, you know, it sees heavy traffic and it could do see some replacement. So we've included that in the plan.
Okay.
Exit doors, several different issues with some exit doors there, all requiring maintenance.
I think one of the back has to be repaired, replaced, huh?
Yeah, I believe it does, yeah. Yeah, so we've allotted some money there to do that.
Yeah.
The hot water tank, 19 years old. Something that we can wait till it fails and replace, or something that, you know, knowing that it's a 20-year-old unit, given the condition of our water, something that we may want to get ahead of. When you see service area lighting, there's a common theme throughout this budget, and that addresses the incandescent lighting within the facility. So what basically what we're doing is proposing that we retrofit those with LED lighting. Air conditioners, we've gone through that. Emergency and exit lighting, so those were installed over 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago, and is something that we wanted to start looking at putting some money aside there to replace those, keep them up to date. Any questions on the Havelock Library before we move to critical?
Any questions? Seeing none, go ahead, Brian. Oh, Larry, did you have something?
It's okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment. Normally, in a budget, we would just have a number for general repairs and maintenance, but this report is good. It kind of gives you a real snapshot of what all is involved with a certain amount of money that would have been allotted for it. So it's good to see.
Okay.
Same thing with the Grove Library. There's some joints that need recocking, some glazing on things of that nature. Same thing with the hot water tank. It's 29 years old there, so we've definitely exceeded the life expectancy of that unit. Exhaust fans, it was already in the budget previously. However, we can remove that. We just had to replace that just recently, so that can come off the list. Exterior lighting, same, recommending moving out of the incandescent light bulb to the LED fixture. Same thing with the service area. The lighting back there is 29 years old and looking to retrofit to LED. There's initial costs up front to do that work. However, in the future, it's the intention that we would see some cost savings there in terms of hydro consumption.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could Dave update the screen, please?
Okay, 1 second.
Thank you.
Air conditioner, we've already kind of agreed on that. Anything before I move into Kosh Lake Library? Okay. The flooring, vinyl flooring in the storage room, it's about 38 years old. Anyways, it's in pretty poor condition. It's a small area. It's a small amount, $300, allowing for replacement of that. Exit lighting as well. There is no exit or emergency lighting throughout the building. It's something that we would like to see installed at that facility for health and safety. Domestic hot water tank, 38 years old. It's just a small heater. Anyways, looking to possibly replace that before it fails. Same thing with the lighting. Looking to upgrade to LED, both inside and outside. And now we're on page 3 of 6. The library currently has a window type air conditioner. It's roughly 16 years old. To replace that would be under $500. Any questions on Kosh Lake Library?
Did you have a question there, Dave, or was you just moving your hand?
Oh, thumbs up.
Okay,
Yeah, I have one.
go ahead.
For you, Mr. Mayor, we're gonna have to find a spot in our budget for the Kosh Lake Library. Just right now, it's falls under the library and Havelock. I think most of the expenses.
Yeah,
David has a comment on that.
I think Bob followed up on this point earlier in the week that he wants that carved out so we can get line of sight on what it costs. To strip that out is relatively easy. The next iteration of the budget, it will be there for you to digest.
okay.
Thanks, David.
Okay, so moving on, I think we could just skip past the medical center for now. Is that okay? You, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Sorry, maybe for David, just why is the number different there?
Well, what are we looking at here?
Well, just for Ryan's summary and on the one by our itemized list, it says 109, and then I think earlier we looked at 140. So,
Oh, okay, so through you, Mayor Martin, to answer Councilor Webb's question. The 140 that you seen earlier in the presentation, that was a carry forward from last year. So that's why it was listed at the top, and it's not in the medical center itself. I listed all the carry forwards, and
okay, yeah, okay.
And just announce that first.
I'm sorry, I mixed up. Thank you.
And that, and further to that, I think that was just for the roof, right?
yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's what I did. Thank you. And Ryan, thank you.
so I think we'll move past the medical center and we'll go right to the municipal office. So there's a budget of $45,000 to do some craft repairs, coating, waterproofing. We've had water leaks in the basement of the municipal office, which is a concern, being that that's where our records are kept, and we want to make sure that we have a controlled environment there. We don't have any breaching of water in that area, so we've allowed some money in there to repair the foundation and any leaking that's happening here in this office.
Okay.
Air conditioners, we've already gone over that. Same thing with the service area lighting, just, it's 25-year-old lighting, just looking to upgrade that to LED. So that's it for the municipal office.
Okay. Any questions?
So page 4,
Okay, David, go ahead.
If I can interject, there's a good program through LIS. I met Brian's used this before, an LED subsidy grant program that we can likely circle into this. That came up in conversation the other week, so skill, luck, and timing. Our timing might be good to get some of this work done through a program.
Okay, Dave, Deputy Mayor Dro, did you have a question?
Scratching my head.
Don't put your hand up.
I don't know, I was scratching on the mic then.
Okay. And the sound isn't working too bad here on this end. I don't know whether you're using the microphone or not, but I do have it turned up quite a bit, but it's I can hear very good. It's the audio, visual is terrible, but we'll have to work on that. Anyways, go ahead. So we'll go into the next part.
so we're moving into former town hall. The first one on the list was the interior guards for the balcony height up top in the viewing area. So it's too low, so the budget allows for us to increase the height of that, and that would just be a short-term fix for that.
Okay.
Roofing, both the garage, allowing for the replacement of that. The stairs, there's a bed and stairwell in really rough shape. Should look at replacing that stairwell. Exterior restoration, so stone and brick. This is kind of the big one. As you can see from just visually looking at it, there's all kinds of attention needed to the brick veneer and the mortar joints throughout the building. So that's just a budget price there to get that all fixed back up again. Windows. These are, the windows are about 65 years old. They're all wood framed. They appear to be in poor condition. And so that 35,000 represents replacement of windows. Some flooring in the basement that should be done. However, if we were to do anything there, we'd have to do a study to sure that there's no asbestos present in that location before we did any work. Throughout the building, they're all plastered walls, so in various locations throughout the building, it seems to be in pretty poor shape, so there's also some concerns with lack of drywall in certain areas for fire protection, so that money would address those concerns as well.
So Ryan, with the town hall, like the two things that we have to get it open were the biggest concern this year, and that's the roof and the ramp. And all of these other things are things that are going to have to be, you know, whether we have to do them this year, but there's something that are going to have to be budgeted for every year. So whether we can even start something like some sort of a reserve or something towards some of these other things, is it possible? Is there anything else that has to happen this year other than the roof and the ramp?
Do you remember? No, the minimum projects to be completed would be the roof and the ramp, as previously stated. I think it would be wise for council, as you said, to start investing in some sort of a reserve for the future plans of this, and maybe go as far as getting a feasibility study done. That's why I'm not putting all these smaller items to the front of the list, because we should really determine what the needs are of that facility before we start, fixing some of the stuff. Like, we may decide to do like a full restoration down the road, and then that building could look totally different from what it is. So I think for the purpose of this budget, the $100,000 to get the roof and the ramp done would be where council would want to focus their attention for this year.
So what would happen, like Councilor Webb referred to the 140 that we had in a facility reserve last year, and we were pulling 100,000 of that out to do these two things that have to be done, and the other 40 was to stay in the reserve, but maybe mark it down as in a town hall reserve, or like swing it over to a building that we have concerns with, or we have a lot of expenses going to be coming in the future. Would that make any sense? I don't know. I'm just leaving this out for council to answer to, but and like I say, I always simplify things. So I'm just looking simple math. There was 140 that we didn't use and we're not going to use, and we're taking 100 of that to help with this. And there's a little bit left over that could be set aside for future work that's going to have to be done. So I see Barry's hand up.
Unlike Dave, I was scratching my forehead, but I have to go along with you and do the two things that are major to get them open.
Okay. And Dave was scratching his head again, or he had something?
I scratch my head.
Okay. And Larry?
Yes, just quickly through you, Mr. Mayor, and that was our agreement the night or the morning we had our council meeting, and the motion was brought forward to do just that, make a plan where we're going to get the money and take cautious steps as we move forward to fix all the things that are needing fixed. So we're following through with our plan.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, Barry, go ahead.
For you, Mr. Mayor, maybe give us a chance to see if someone would like to step up and do some fundraising, for to help us in the coming years, so we can do it a little bit each year. There's people that use it, and they get the rent for practically nothing, and that's who we're hearing the complaints from. So maybe there could be a fundraising project and people could get behind it and.
Well, as part of the plan going forward, I have heard from the jammers that they have some money. They might even have enough for the whole ramp, but when we get talking to get this open, if they do, any donation they make would be I think we should start looking at keeping it like for them, it's specific for the town hall. So if we put it up and if we front the money and get this going, if we aren't successful with a grant, you know, and they have some money to help us with, you know, we can work something out. Let's get a plan here and moving forward. Like these facility things are things that have to be done every year, not just the town hall. Every building has things that be done. And we're not the ones that pick what needs to be done. We have a list and let's go with it and get it done. So, okay.
Okay, I wasn't centering out the cameras like anyone else.
No, but they have talked to us several times and I talked to one of them last week and, you know, they're more than willing to help us. So I'm just using that name for an example that they can help us get this thing moving forward, hopefully. Okay. Any other questions or comments around that? Carry on then.
Good, so in general, the critical needs to get the building open is $100,000. That includes the roof and the ramp. I just want to make sure I bring council's attention to the fact that as of the facility condition assessment, what's noted in the report and what the recommendations are for that 30-year plan, it's more like $400,000 to address all those needs. So I just want to make sure that council's aware that that's 1/3 of what the costs are to bring that building up to the standard that's outlined in the condition assessments and recommended by our engineers. So
Okay.
move on to page 6. This is the stone hall we're looking at.
Okay.
Common theme, same thing, roofing. It was due for replacement in 2019. The age of the roof is 45 years old, so we've allowed $39,000 for the replacement of the main roof. Any questions on that before I move on?
Very good.
Is there any leaks in the roof, Ryan? Because usually a steel roof will last basically for a lifetime, eh?
Yeah. Through you, Mayor Martin, to Council Power, there is no visible leaks at this time. Given the age of that roof, being 45 years old, that's why it's recommended that it be replaced. So, I mean, at some point, the fasteners are going to wear out, and we are going to have leaks at some point. At this point, we do not have any, but it's something in the future that we want to plan for.
Okay. Any comments around that? That's where we've slipped in the past, is we haven't had any planning. We just react, and we got to get away from that. So, any questions? Okay, carry on.
Okay, there's a little bit of flooring in the storage room. And there's the plastered ceiling in the furnace room as well is in poor condition. So just some drywall that needs to be done there. Just to get that kind of sealed back up. Now we've had discussions about the kitchen exhaust fan in the past, and it's still on here. I think from what I remember from the last conversation we had with council, I think everyone was kind of comfortable with what system we had in there right now, given the activities that are taking place in that facility. So that's not something that's pressing at this time.
So if we tamper with it, you're gonna have to put a new one in, and that's gonna be substantially more than what it costs for a roof even. So if we get by with what we got.
Same thing with the exterior lighting, just updating the lighting and retrofitting the LED. And that's it for the stone hall.
Okay. Questions? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we could get Ryan to see how many lights are needed and how many exit lights are needed for quantity. and bring it back to David, and he can get in touch with LAS. And then we, get them ordered. And we can get them installed.
Yep.
By LAS, fire.
Yeah, so we're agreeing that they need to be in there, and if we can find it, source them out, that would be good.
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to Councilor Plummer's comment, 2 years ago, we had a company come in and we did a electrical audit of all the facilities, so we have a current inventory, we know exactly like how many lights, exactly what they are, the age of the lights that were done. And we also did a cost analysis on what it would cost to operate currently with what we have existing, and then the upgrade.
Yeah.
And there's also some incentives there to the government for grants and things like that as well that we might be able to take advantage of, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on.
So we are down in new parks, equipment and development. Back to the installation of the parking lot at Session Street, I'll just leave that open to council for comment.
Forget it.
Okay. Replacement of the zero turn.
Yeah.
I think that our last round of discussions, we agree on that.
Yeah.
Construction of the splash pad.
Yeah.
I think we're okay with that. We're comfortable moving forward. We're gonna hold off on the replacement of the 2 3/4 ton trucks.
Yeah.
And the purchase or the increase of the floral displays, we're gonna reduce that amount by 50%, and we're gonna put $2,500 in there to expand that. And then we already discussed the replacement of the downtown banners from March to September, and that was something that council wished to do at the time.
So Ryan, I don't see anything in there for the Christmas display or the light displays that are on the poles, and a lot of them are burning out, and half of them or half of. Do you have anything in the budget to repair them for next year?
No, I'm sorry, we don't have, there's nothing listed here for the replacement. They're actually not that old, and we've been in contact with the company to try and get some answers on what's going on. So last year, we were able to order some replacement parts and change those lights out ourselves instead of purchasing all new lights. So we found that to be an economical way, and I think that that's something we could maybe just handle through the operating maintenance budget.
Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, is there any way of getting, 2 or 3 more to go up concession or up 46 towards the town line there or towards Midtown? Just some comments that everything on the other side is 7. So otherwise, we're gonna have to spread them out.
Okay.
Just a thought.
So if we were looking to expand them, they're roughly $800 to $1,000 a piece. So that's as far as, depending on how far you want to go with it, that's the cost.
And you have to put electrical, that's on each pole.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, whatever, I guess it's kind of late in the game here to be asking for this, but if there's a way of even putting the electrical outlets and, spreading them out next year, but I think we need to include the whole town, not just 7 and 30. So just, that's the comments I'm getting. So it's not a major thing, but it's something to think about for future.
Use
Okay.
the one on York Street.
What's that?
See, we can use the ones off York Street.
Yeah.
Because it'll be under construction.
Yeah, so whatever happens, it's gonna look beautiful next year once they finish it, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next then?
Yeah, so that basically concludes the full needs list from the Facilities Parks and Recreation Department for capital projects for 2022. As previously mentioned, like you can see on the list where it was identified in the facility condition plan what year it was to be done, and then anything that says new on it would be new this year, as in it's due this year. So I think if it's, if council is in agreement, I'll just keep bringing the budget forward this way every year so that these items don't get lost, and we can at least review them on an annual basis if that's, you know, something that council wishes to do, because I realize we can't do all these things in 1 year. It's just too much, but that's why I kind of broke it down and shortlisted that list that we went through first to kind of identify the top priorities for the department. But if council open to any comments or suggestions on how they want to see this brought back to the next meeting or in the future.
Okay. I'm sure council would like that, but let's, has anybody got any comments around that? Suggestions?
Only comment, Mr. Mayor, I think it's
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
great, right, thank you very much. That's the way I like to see it.
Okay, thank you. All right then. So David, where do we go next?
I'd like a roundtable discussion through your mayor about the consensus and priorities, and if there's anything you want rolled up into the current budget, drilling down to the proposed tax rates this year. Anything there that, given Ryan's priorities and the logic behind it, that you'd like to see? Thanks.
Okay. Council, you got anything you want to add to that?
Just I'm gonna have to go backwards for you, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. I haven't got it right in front of me, but we had $2,500 Ryan, for the upstairs in the town hall for the height of the gallery up there.
Yep.
So if we don't do that, we'll have to block that off. Because once we spend the money to get the roof and the ramp in place, if that's necessary, we'll have to block that upstairs off there. Because it's not safe, it's not safe. We know it's not safe now. So we're not gonna spend the money there. Just a comment.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Marino, I'll just comment on that. The $2,500 would be just a temporary fix, just to increase the height of that balcony. It was noted in the engineer's report that it was unsafe to have it the way it is, so I think it's something that is a priority for council if they do reopen the building. It is something that has been like that for many years. However, it doesn't mean that it's okay for us to operate that way any longer.
Okay. Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, personally, if it's gonna be used, I'd like to see it. It's up to the rest of the council also to comment on it. It's an extra $2,500. But we bring up the upstairs, and I'm sure council somewhere else will have a comment on it.
Are you using the microphone there, Dave?
Apparently not good enough. I'm just commenting on the upstairs in the town hall. And we have, Ryan is in his budget, he has $2,500 to extend the height of the wall in the gallery upstairs to make it safe. The engineer said it's not safe, now we know it, so we either have to block the stairs off or temporarily extend the height so it is safe.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it extended, but if we don't extend, we'll just have to block it up.
Yeah, so if it needs done, it's one of those things that should be done. You know, if we're using the building, so. Any other comments around that? So, okay, I'm not seeing any, so I don't know, Ryan, if it's like, I don't know, if it's $2,500 and it's one of those things for using it safely, what's your recommendation then? Do you?
Through Mayor Martin, hear my recommendation to approve the budget to extend the height of the balcony railing. Make it safe for the public to use.
All right then, so what's council's thoughts on that then? The recommendation is that we do extend the height of it. Go ahead, Larry.
To you, Mr. Mayor. My only comment is I know it's something that has to be done. But given the age and the history of the old building, I would hope that the extension on the upper balcony there would tie into the same theme.
That might,
Just a
yeah.
comment.
Okay, Ryan, is that, you got that?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councilor Ellis, staff will, if council decides to approve this project, staff will do their best to make sure that it matches in with the theme of the town hall.
Thank you, Ryan.
Here. Okay. Any other comments on that, council? Well, I would say it should be in there, but you know, I'll leave it at that. I'm not seeing any hands go up, so. All right. So I would think it should be in there, and I think Larry's agreeing. So what's council's thoughts? Barry, go ahead.
Oh, I really didn't have my hand up, but, well, there's some things here that we can do this year. We could put some of them over till next year, like in all areas, like the libraries, the town hall. You know, we've already discussed that, and the two main things to get it open are going to be addressed. Some of this other smaller stuff, I mean, it all adds up to money, but do we have to do it in 1 year, or can we do it? I guess that all depends on what you come up with for LAS for prices. You know, we just can't say, oh, we're gonna approve the whole thing. We want to see the bottom line.
Maybe we could leave it at that then. It's just, like it's in there right now, not that, but the roof and the ramp, and let's see what it comes back at. And if there is any leftover, staff can see how we want to use that.
Well, it's a good start.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, if I could just reiterate the comments from Deputy Mayor Giroux. The choice is either to install the guards or remove access to the balcony. We know it's a safety issue. It becomes a liability issue. So the choice before council today is either to do that repair, the $2,500, or remove access at least temporarily until that repair is completed.
So it sounds like to remove the access for now until we see where we stand on the other two items. And if there is some money left over through LAS, maybe we can have another report come back later, and there might be some money there to help with that, or, you know, donations.
I'm in agreement with that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone? All right. Carry on then.
With this takeaway, it concludes this session. Thank you all very much for your time and the direct feedback. I'm going to run with this. I'm going to shut my door and get this out to you later today with a preliminary tax number for 2022 for your consideration. If you will, I suggest we carve out 1 hour on Monday afternoon and be ready for Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's up to Bob. It just seems a little tight to try and squeeze one in Monday. You know, if you bring that back for the Tuesday meeting, it doesn't really, we can either receive the draft or not receive it, but we still got to add some more things in there anyways, once we listen to the public and see whether we add or remove. we still have time here without rushing into Monday, is my opinion there. I don't know what Bob thinks, but we might want to schedule a meeting for next Friday. You know, we might have a lot more information after Tuesday. That's another thought for me, is give you some more time to get this together. I don't know what everybody's schedule is like. I shouldn't even say, I mean, looked at my own, but to me, Monday, it doesn't matter. If you can just have the report ready for us on Tuesday to go along with the whatever comes on Tuesday with as part of the budget, and we can just add all, you know, have discussion over all of it. What's your thoughts, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I would agree with that. Let's carry on with Tuesday. That is what was listed in our schedule. So we can certainly receive final numbers on Monday via email, but bring it formally on Tuesday as part of the public input portion of the meeting for budget. And we can discuss it there and then determine from there a future meeting if necessary.
Okay. All right, then. That'll give you more time, David, to get it correct, and we'll be informed on Tuesday. Okay. All right, then. So what else is on here? I don't have anything listed on the agenda other than the preliminary draft approval. Well, we can't do that today anyways, as far as we've approved everything that's been over the overview here, and we'll see what comes on Tuesday, and then we'll go from there, I think. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, while we have Ryan here, when our facilities review was done, the arena, was there anything that really stuck out from the facilities review of the arena, Ryan?
Through Mayor Martin to Councilor Ellis, that's a good question. And the reason why you're not seeing it on this proposed budget is because we addressed that through the grant, infrastructure grant. So all of the items that were listed in the facility condition assessment grant are addressed through the grant, and we'll be completing them through that project.
Okay, that answers my question. That's good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So is there any other questions before, is that it for today then, David and Bob?
Yes.
Okay. So we can get out.
You want me to make that motion, Your Honor?
I would look for a motion that, well, I need the confirming bylaw for today. And that's moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and Councillor Ellis. And then I think Barry's gonna make a motion to adjourn, and I think Hart was seconding it there. So all in favor? And that's carried.